Hi guys, welcome back. I am Red Zed, and today we are finally here with a brand new faction ranking for the Greeks in RTR Imperium Surrectum. Thank you for joining us. Sorry about the technical issues, completely my fault. For some reason, Streamlabs decided that today was not the day to work, but welcome back to the channel, Ahowl. Thank you for joining me once again.
It's good to be here, and so just to make sure, we are live.
Yes, we are, and we're in the right place. Wow.
Okay. Wow.
The right place. You may have seen a little stream go up on the channel a little bit ago, but for some reason it forgot all my settings. It was not connecting to this one. So we are back here, though, and we are ready to go. This is going to be a bit of a marathon today, isn't it? This is going to be a fun one.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I'm ready for it, and just out of curiosity, the people that were on the first link, is it the same link and we just came back?
Yeah, that's the link that we've shared. The other one was just a random,
Okay. I just
random
didn't
one.
want people to be, like, sitting in a random...
Yeah, no, it is the right one. So that is the good thing about it. But we are going to be ranking them as we have done all of the time, guys. We're going to be ranking them based on the strength of the faction, you know, from the start of the game, how easy, how hard the start is, plus their strength later down the line in terms of their roster, that sort of thing, the enemies they're going to face, as well as a little bit about their history, whether they are historically important, and of course, a little bit of coolness as well, you know. Not much coolness in this. This is quite an objective ranking that we're doing, but you might see the coolness come in later when we do our own rankings. So, yeah, should we get going?
Yeah, let's get going.
So let's start with the Acarnanian League then. And these guys, you know, two little settlements stuck between Epirus and the Aetolian League. Nothing that interesting about their roster, that sort of thing. For me, personally, you know, it's not an incredibly difficult faction in terms of the tiny starts, I would say, because you can probably get onto the Aetolians pretty quickly. When I say incredibly difficult, I'm talking about these tiny factions like the Maedi, Denthalate, the Asti, Taras, that sort of thing, guys. So, yes, it's incredibly difficult compared to playing as the Antigones, but for these smaller starts, I would say that it's probably one of the easier ones. But again, it's not a great start, so I would put them quite low. What do you think?
For the Acarnanians, yeah, I mean, let's see. I don't have the game up just yet. I need to fire it up, but from memory, I know that they have that rebel settlement in the north, which is pretty easy to take. So that's pretty much like the first move. And then you do have a couple islands you can go down to in the south. You have Same and you have Zakynthos that you can take. Same's a rebel settlement. That's a pretty easy one to take. Zakynthos is Aetolian held, so it's kind of like, you know, it's inevitable that you're going to be going to war with the Aetolians. So, you know, if you take that island settlement, it kind of could serve as a backup in case things go wrong on the mainland. But the Aetolians are probably going to be your first enemy, and then you have Epirus as well, and Epirus is going to be a much tougher fight.
Yeah.
The Aetolians, you could probably knock out the Aetolians pretty quickly with some savvy gameplay, but the Epirotes are going to be tough. You know, I understand D, but I would say they start with two regions. I would say C.
I would also agree with C. I mean, there's nothing that special about them, but, you know, you're basically doing a Aetolian League replacement game, aren't you, where you replace them and then become them.
And they have a couple units. You know, they have the Acarnanian Hoplites, who, you know, are just like a cooler looking generic hoplite. They aren't anything special. They're not professional.
Yeah.
Or even standard. They're just a levy hoplite, for, if I can remember that correctly. And then they have the Acarnanian slingers, who actually are pretty good slingers. They're not like a Rhodian slinger by any means, but they're not your typical Greek slinger. So you do get a little bit of an upgrade with the slingers. Other than that, it's like your basic Greek roster. So not the worst faction by all means, but I would say C. And then, like, depending on how we go with the rest of this, I'm willing to change based on what we do with others, but I think a solid C would be good for them.
Yeah, definitely. I think a solid C as well. Let's stick them on there, definitely. So yeah, I think that's a good one. And Sakib says the Romans are clearly the best Greeks, and I can't even disagree with that.
I guess so.
Well, thank you for all the comments, guys. I will be dipping in and out of the comments. Obviously, when we're talking about the factions, guys, I'm not going to be able to respond to them, especially when Ahowl's talking. So I will respond to the comments every now and then. But we'll go on to the Crabby Boys then, the Akragas, and become quite a little bit of a series on the channel, old Akragas. And I'm not going to lie and say that it was fun.
It was fun to watch.
The second episode was actually really fun when we killed the Carthaginians off Sicily and held on to the island of Sicily. The third episode when we fought the Romans, that literally made me want to gouge my own eyes out. So yes, not exactly a strong faction. On top of that, your roster is not brilliant. You're stuck between Syracuse, Carthage, and the Romans. And yeah, you're not exactly very rich either. So I've got to say, a solid D tier for Akragas. Very, very difficult. In fact, when this release was coming out, or was it 0.5? I can't remember. I remember all of the beta testers all saying how hard Akragas is. So yeah, I think a solid D tier. But what do you think?
I'd have to say D tier. Yeah, I mean, especially concerning like as we update the Romans in the future, it's going to get even harder. The Romans right now, as of this current release, aren't fully worked on, and so the strengths that you might get from them is not even close to what we would hope to achieve with the Romans that we'll have when they're ready. So I've even seen reports that the Romans are kind of weak right now. Yeah. So I mean, as Akragas, you might even have it easier now than you would later, but still, it's going to be a D tier. And Sicily is only going to get even more interesting. I mean, we have a Mamertines faction planned, so it's not like Messene is going to be a rebel settlement up for grabs anymore. They're going to be its own faction. You already have Syracuse. So yeah, they're only going to get harder, but even right now they're pretty hard. You got Syracuse and you got Carthage, and as we saw, taking those two rebel settlements in the middle of Sicily, they're hard fights, and they don't give you a ton. And they don't have any special units. You do get Peloponnesian hoplites. Well, I guess they do have a couple special units. You get Peloponnesian hoplites late game, which are a really good hoplite unit. I think they're elite hoplites. And then you also get the Sicel Theriophoroi and Sicel Peltophoroi, which really, I mean, are just native variants of Peltasts and Theriophoroi. It's nothing like they're not like strong or weak compared to the generics. So nothing really crazy with their roster. It's a generic Greek roster, and you're in between three powerhouses, really. So yeah, I would agree at the D tier. They do have a cool symbol though, so that gives them something, but not enough for C tier.
I mean, very cool symbol, and I am being told by YouTube that the frame rate is too high. So I am sorry if there are any issues with the stream, guys, but I think the quality will be fine in the end. After all, we're not playing a game. We are literally just plonking icons onto a screen, so it shouldn't need to be the highest quality. But hopefully it's decent anyway. But yeah, Mosca's in here too. So yeah, Mosca is in here too, which is a recipe for trouble. But yeah, Paul says that Akragas is just Athens on hard mode, which is already Greek hard mode. So yeah, I agree with that. Akragas is Greek hard mode, is Athens hard mode. But yeah, we are on to Argos then next. And I really like Argos, but there's one specific reason for that. And I think we all know why. It's because it's the place where Pyrrhus got bonked over the head with a roof tile. And like, that is literally the only reason. Like, I don't really know that much else about Argos, and I'm not that interested in everything else about Argos. But yes, I find Argos pretty interesting because that happened there. But in terms of Argos as an emergent faction, it is an emergent faction. If you spawn in as them, around you, you're going to have Sparta, the Antigonids, the Achaeans, the Elians, that sort of thing. Maybe Athens as well if they get a little bit stronger. But yeah, going to be another difficult start. However, I think this could be a pretty decent start for you. Any start on the Peloponnese, in my opinion, is eminently winnable, and you're in a pretty good position because you have a multitude of smaller enemies around you that are pretty easy to take out. So as Argos, you're going to spawn in. You'll probably have Corinth right next to you, yet the Macedonian army is not going to be fully built up there. So you've got a good chance of taking out Corinth, which starts as a minor city, which is fantastic. And you've also got Sparta down south, who start, as we all know, with an absolute dog shit army, a terrible army, an awful army, an army that is full of just terrible units, apart from one and their general. So yes, you're gonna have some nice little opportunities for Argos. However, I hesitate to put it up too high, but I'm thinking potentially B, but that could just be my bias. What do you think?
Well, you start with 2 settlements.
Yeah.
So you get Argos and you get Prasiae. Prasiae is nothing special. It's just a town. I don't think it was even considered a polis in our time frame. Argos is pretty strong as a city, though. You do get Argive Epilectoi, but other than that, you get a basic Greek roster. You're right. Sparta doesn't start out very good, so you could probably take them out. Though you kind of start with a random roster. So here's the thing, like, if you're going to play as an emergent faction, you start off with random units. You don't know what your unit roster is going to be. You could be getting a ton of cool Chad Argive Epilectoi, or you could be getting a bunch of Acontistai and Greek slingers, and you're going to have to figure it out.
Alt F4, bro.
And then you have like a wall of Greek city-states, or GCS, to your west. So honestly, man, I would not put them in B tier. I'd put them in C tier along with Acarnania.
I think slightly above the Acarnania. It's probably harder than Acarnania, but at the same time, it's probably more rewarding. I reckon you can get stronger quicker. So
I'd say harder because you do have a rebel settlement directly north in Sicyon, but it's like almost a full stack. Yeah. However, I mean, the Antigonids do not start with much in Corinth, though Corinth itself is a hard thing to take. But here's the thing. You deal with the ejected generals of Argos and Prasiae. So that's 3 generals in the area on top of the other generals. So there's a lot of generals in the Antigonids that you have to contend with, and your army may not be able to contend with them. You could take a risk and snipe Hermione and Trojan, but again, you're just asking for like 4 or 5 generals to possibly pop up in a battle at any given moment. So Argos is tough, and I think the safest move would be to go straight for Sparta if you have the decent army. It really just depends on what you spawn with, and that's why I would say C tier. But I think they'd be harder. It really just depends. They could be D tier if you spawn with Acontistai and Greek slingers, but overall I'd be C tier.
Yeah, you need some Argive Epilectoi in that army really to do anything, don't you? So I think I'm going to put them higher than the Acarnanians just because I think you have the ability to get stronger quicker on the Peloponnese rather than where the Acarnanians are situated. So yeah, I'll put them higher. It's quite close though. So on to the city of world's desire then. We're on to Byzantium, or Byzantion, should I say. Interesting faction. Never really thought about these guys too much, to be honest. I've always just fought them. Use them as an escape route from Anatolia when you're playing as Bithynia or Chios or anything like that.
If you want to know about how Red feels about Bithynia, watch his failed faction guide and then watch our Thracian ranking video, and you get to hear how he really feels about Bithynia.
Yeah, I don't want you to mention that name ever again. But yeah, yeah, Byzantian, interesting faction. You do actually start off quite rich. You get some Epibartai, I believe, as a unique unit. And, you do start with a little toehold in Anatolia too, but as we've, found out, that's not always a good thing with the Seleucids nearby. But I think you can build up quite a lot of strength. The only thing is, you're going to be fighting Thracians a lot. You're going to be fighting Pontic Pentapolis. But honestly, once you've taken the few rebel settlements around you, unless you go for the enemy straight away, you're going to be in a peachy position. You're going to be in a really good position. I don't think it's going to be that difficult for you to build up a nice little empire. The only difficulty is going to come if you border the Seleucids and they decide to send across like 5 full stacks. That's when it will get difficult. But until that point, I think pretty easy. You're not mega strong. You're not mega weak. I think right down the middle, probably B.
Well, let's think about that. So they are allied to their southern Greek neighbors. So they're allied to the Byzantines. They're allied to Chios. I do not think they're allied to Kyzikos. They are allied to the Heraclea Pontica as well. They're part of the Northern League. So immediately south, you're safe. Bithynia has to deal with Seleucids most likely. But I mean, if you're playing very hard extreme mode, alliances go right out the window. Bithynia would come for you, but let's just say I would say like 5 to 7 turns they wouldn't. I feel like it generally will take a while for the AI to sour on you when you start with good relations in an alliance. It takes them a while to like realize that they hate you and they want to kill you. So you need to like utilize that time wisely. I mean, the first move I think is taking Salimbria and connecting your land. From there, you can knock out the Asti. You have another decently easy settlement in Salmidesos to take out. Parenthos, I mean, Byzantium is not that hard either. But then you're going to be bordering the CG, which, unless your army is built up and retrained, you're not going to be able to take that. Honestly, working your way up the coast and taking Pentapolis would be my move. The thing is that as you work up that coast, you get further away from your capital, and by then, who knows if Bithynia is knocking on your door. I was going to say A tier, but now as I'm processing through it, yeah, I'd have to say B tier. I do think it's a good, doable campaign. I do think an intermediate player can play it and have a decent time. I think a beginner would probably have a hard time, where a veteran hardcore player would probably have a breeze. I would like to see, I mean, maybe you do more guides in the future. It'd be interesting to see what happens if you did like a faction guide on them, because you can, I feel like there's a lot of things that could possibly happen because you're right in the middle.
Yeah, definitely. And I think you're going to be, it's a pretty easy faction, but like I say, it's not exactly the strongest or the weakest. I think it's right down the middle. So on to Chersonesos then. So I believe that's Chersonesos. I think that is Chersonesos.
It is.
And how many settlements do you start with Chersonesos? Is it 2 or 3?
No, you get 3. You get 2 large towns in Chersonesos and Cnidus, and then you also get Kalos Limit. Oh, there's 3 large towns. By the way, Byzantium does have Byzantine, which most epidbati in this game are they have big hoplite shields, so it's a pretty good decent slinger unit to use. So I just wanted to touch on that. If a faction has a unit, I'm gonna mention it has a unit. But Chersonesos has 3 large towns and all of them have
cutting out, I think, man.
Huh?
Cutting out, I think.
Okay, let me rejoin. You can explain why this happens.
Yeah. For some reason, just Discord decides that it doesn't want to hear Ahowl talk anymore, and then cuts him off. So you were saying you start with 3 large towns.
Yeah, you start with 3 large towns, and all of them have ports. Is what I was saying.
Yeah, I think they're not a terrible faction, but they're not amazing either. But you do start close by to the Bosporans, but if you don't go to war with the Bosporans, you don't really have any enemies for a while. You could you can have a little dance around, going after some rebel territory. Now, that rebel territory is not going to be the best in the world, but you can build up your power base, definitely. But if you're going to fight the Bosporans early on, that's going to be pretty difficult for you. So I would say probably slap bang in the middle again, probably worse, slightly worse than Byzantium. Just because you have the option there. If you're playing on lower difficulties, you don't get attacked by the Bosporans, you're going to be fine. But if you're playing on hard, very hard, that's going to be a very difficult war to win. You're going to probably have to use some border shenanigans to win that war. So, yeah.
I don't know, man. If you're not bordering the Bosporans.
No, not at the start, but if you take any land, you are.
Well, that's the whole thing. I don't think this is a very hard campaign, because what I would do is I'm looking at these garrisons of the Scythians right now, and they're pretty substantial. They're not easy takes. The Bosporans would have to take 3 of those to get to you. So, or maybe 2 of them, but at least 2 of them before they can really attack you and border you. So I would use that to my advantage as like a buffer. You could go straight north and take Karkine. It's just a Greek town, not much, but it has a super weak garrison. And then from there you could make a play. You could take out Olbia early, really early. I mean, you could take them out. And then you also have Histria. They have a settlement up there, and you also have some GCS to contend with. So, again, thinking long run, like if you leave your neighboring rebel regions alone and let the Bosporans take those, or deplete itself on those, you can move west, take out Olbia, and take a few cities from the Greeks and Istros or Istria, and then by the time that's taken care of, you have some economy, which are good fertility out here. I think that's the high fertility. Tyrus is high fertility. Niconion's high fertility. Istrion Lemon is high fertility. Olbia is high fertility. So you have some really good fertility out here. You have a lot of trade. They all have ports. You take those, you're going to be making decent money, and then Chersonesos is your recruitment center. That would be my strategy. I think they're a solid B tier above Byzantium, because if you make that play, you're more than set to take the Bosporans. You're pretty much on equal terms as the Bosporans at that point.
Yeah, there's still a lot of big rebel garrisons to take, though. I'm happy to put them B. I thought you were going to argue for them to be an A then, and I was going to say no.
Here's the thing. Say rebel garrisons to contend with. That's the whole point. You don't contend with them.
Yeah.
You let the Bosporans contend.
No, exactly.
I mean, I see that as like a wall of protection.
I think, and Histria and Olbia should be pretty easy to take out, so...
Yeah, and then you only have the GCS. You have one substantial army with the GCS that you have to worry about in Tyrus, but that's it. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Greek cities along the coast to your west that you could easily take out, form a mini little trade empire with high fertility everywhere, and then from there you're making money, and you can spam out your units at Chersonesos. You could probably turn Olbia into a recruitment center too, and then the Bosporan Kingdom should be ready to have like a decent war with. So that's why I think it's solid B. I wouldn't put it in A, because you have to be smart with this strategy. And it's not like an easy breeze. And then the only unit that you get that's kind of special is the Chersonesian hoplites.
Yeah,
which
exactly.
Are the red light. They're not like world beaters or anything.
No. And I personally just don't find it that interesting of a campaign, because I don't know. It's just me personally. I don't really. If I'm going to play in that region, I want to play either Pontic Pentapolis or Bosporans. Basically, those are the 2 things that I would want to play there. But it'll be a lot different when it's done, I think. But on to Chios then, and you love Chios, so you can go first on this one.
Man, well, we're being objective here. So Chios is solid D tier.
Yep.
To start with, hold on, let me look at it now. Yeah, you don't start with much of an army. You do start with 2 generals and some ships. I cannot wait for this challenge video. I'm begging you, please make a challenge video of Chios.
I
I mean, it's
already
almost
done
like
Priene
one of
though.
those factions. It's one of those factions that like people forget that it's even in the mod. So it's like
Exactly.
you gotta bring some love to them, you know. So yeah, I mean, this is quintessentially the island hopping campaign faction to choose. I mean, you could do it as Rhodes, but Rhodes you could just take Caria pretty easily and Crete pretty easily. This one is you are in the Aegean in the middle, and there's nothing but islands that are worth taking without risking your entire army. So if you go east and you take Erythrae, you are bordering the Seleucids. The Ptolemies don't have a huge presence in this area, so you're not going to get a massive response from them. But you'll be bordering the Seleucids, and they will be knocking on your door. So that's probably not the move. You could go straight north, and you could take Methymna and Mytilene, but that's going to be basically begging for Pergamon to attack you. Here's the other thing. I feel like Pergamon would target your capital from the start as well because they are allied with the Seleucids. So it's either between you or the Seleucids, which most likely, as we know, AI, it'll be you. So you're always playing with that threat that Pergamon could land,
Yeah.
Priene could land even and attack you because they
The
don't really
boys.
have anywhere else to go. So you could maybe take Priene out first, but that's tough. Pergamon would basically be impossible at the beginning. So what you would want to do is you'd risk losing Chios to eventually maybe return to it, but you have Athenian Skyros, Athenian Imbros, and Athenian Myrina that you could easily take. You have Ptolemaic Samothrake, or Thraki, or whatever you want to call it. You have Paros, Naxos, Andros. So basically, all these little Ptolemaic islands are not defended. And knowing AI, they're not going to be able to like really respond. So I would kind of like ravage the Athenian and Ptolemaic islands, get that trade. You're not going to have fertility here, but you're going to get trade. They all have ports. Use that, and then hopefully Chios can stand, or you can take it back with ease. And from there, you have a little island empire, and you can decide whether you want to tackle Greece or Asia Minor. I would tackle Greece personally because there's more chaos
Crete.
there. Or Crete, yeah, you could take Crete. But with all that being said, that is a super micromanaging style. You have to really be on
Yeah.
point, and at any point in time, Pergamon or Priene could snipe your capital, which takes your recruitment away. So this is a solid D tier for sure, but definitely would be a very challenging game and very interesting, and I think very fun.
Ooh, that's a strong word.
Maybe not fun for you, but maybe fun for masochists.
Well, you only have one. You only have one place to recruit from, and that's the most annoying thing of all. Like, if that gets taken, you're just screwed. It's a one. It's a one settlement campaign, and the reason why I haven't done a challenge video of this is because it will be exactly the same as the one I did for Priene. There will be no difference. I would do exactly what you've said, which is what I did for Priene, and it would be exactly the same tactics. So it's just going to be
Well,
the same.
you shouldn't have done Priene. You should have done Chios. Who cares about Priene?
No, Priene's cooler than Chios.
No, Chios is cooler because they don't have as much.
What's Priene's in between the Seleucids and the Ptolemies?
Yeah, but that was easy. That
Yeah,
was too easy.
but Chios would be too easy then.
No, Chios will be harder. You were able to take out Chios easily with Priene. Chios can't take out Priene.
Why?
The armies are completely different. You have
Yeah, okay.
three generals compared to 2, and Priene starts with a larger army.
Yeah, not a big army though.
I'm telling you, man, it would be different. It would be harder. Priene was a breeze.
Yeah, no, I think, but that was back when you could actually recruit like factional units from level 1 recruitment as well. So
And that's also when you get money from destroying recruitment centers.
yeah, exactly. So it would be a lot harder now, I think. But
I'm
on
telling you, man.
I would
No
do
special
Chios.
units, by the way. There's no special units. Chios does not have a single unit that's Chian. So Blame Mosselos.
And Ludwig, thank you for the comments, bro, and thanks to everyone commenting. And Ludwig has reminded everyone, perfect reminder, everyone make sure you do like this video and subscribe as well if you haven't subscribed. That would be fantastic for this Greek ranking that we've done 6 factions of so far in 30 minutes. And we've got 30 more to do. So, but yeah, no, Chios, I would do an island hopping campaign as them, definitely, but not, I don't know, a challenge video I think would just end up being very similar. So
I wouldn't say it doesn't have to be a challenge video. It could be like a long form. I would do it like the next epic campaign.
You would do the next epic campaign as like the dummies.
No, that's impossible. Maybe
Yeah.
Day 68.
Yeah, exactly, Day 68. But anyway, onto Chios then. So again, it's very similar to Chios. All 3 of these like factions are going to be very similar in terms of what you're going to have to do with them because they start. Oh my god, that made me very scared.
Oh, sorry.
And we've been
very scary.
We've been joined by a rogue Mosca. He's decided not to comment in the chat anymore and comment in real life. So, welcome.
Well, it's good to get a third opinion.
It's gonna take even longer to rank the factions now.
Yeah, literally, that's what I was thinking.
Oh, settle in, guys. Brace yourselves.
Right.
Anyways, give your take on Chios. What do you got? What do you got?
Go on, Mosca.
They seem like a pretty great faction, dude. I would definitely like to see a challenge campaign in the new version of RIS, even if it was just a one-shot, dude. It would be cool. Show some love to Chios.
Not Chios, Chios.
Chios, dude.
No, we're talking.
We're on to Chios.
He's talking about the other faction next to the Byzantium and Bithynia.
Oh, Kaizikis?
No, Chios.
Wait, which one is Chios and which one is Kaizikis?
Okay, so
they're all
Chios,
next to each other.
Chios is the island. Kaizikis is the orange faction.
Yeah. So that's what I was thinking. So we're on Chios, the green one with the ship on it.
You guys were talking about. Sorry, when I was watching the stream, you guys were talking about Chios. I'm sorry.
We're talking about Chios now, the green faction with the ship symbol that's bordering the Byzantines.
Yeah. D tier.
Yeah. It's just going to be the same tactic as you use with Chios. You're going to have to go and take probably the Athenian islands, potentially take out Cyzicus as well. Maybe even jump onto Byzantium. That always seems to be quite a good tactic for you, and you won't be too far away from retraining if you do that as well. So
I'd say D tier, but I mean,
someone is suggesting we add a Chios tier.
I get that strategy, but it's like we can't forget the Byzantium is like right there with a better army than us. I mean, this could be a cursed campaign. I mean, you have Apollonia Rendalis as a super weak rebel settlement. I would just take that just for a backup in case I lost to Bithynia, just to keep alive. There's got to be a way. I mean, maybe mercenaries or something. There's got to be a way to take care of Bithynia early, or else you're screwed. And then it turns into a Bithynia campaign. But I mean, you could abandon Chios to take out Cyzicus and replace them just to buy some time, and from there go to Byzantium. I mean, these little island, I mean, not even island, but these little tiny states that are surrounded by other factions, it's kind of like there's almost like a level of RNG of like you don't know what's going to happen. So the best strategy is to just survive, and then based on what other factions do around you, you make your move. But solid D tier. But the question is it worse, or like is it harder or easier than Acargas and Chios? I say it's harder than Chios. I think Chios is harder than easier than Acargas.
Yeah, but
So
Acrogas is cooler.
I would say Chios, Akragas, Chios is my levels there.
I'm sorry, I'm not putting Chios higher than Acrogas. It's not happening. It's not happening.
Chios is easier than Akragas though.
Is it though?
Acargas is better, dude. Dude, once you control Sicily, you can do whatever you want. So Acargas is actually a sleeper faction, and I'm tired of pretending that it's not.
You sound tired.
All right. Chios is last. I'll
Yeah.
compromise that.
Chios is dead last at the
I
minute.
get it. If you can take Syracuse as Akragas, you're pretty good.
Yeah.
But Chios is worse than Chios. I feel like Chios is going to be a cursed campaign.
This is getting really confusing now. Chios, Kyzicus, onto Kyzicus.
We should move on soon because I'm still not sure which one is which.
Yeah, Kyzicus,
Okay, so
right? Kyzicus. Onto Kyzicus.
It's the orange faction that's kind of on an island, but the Seleucids are like surrounding it.
Yes, and I know which one's Kyzicus.
Okay.
Yeah, they always get taken out pretty much within the first 3 turns. And again, it's just exactly the same strategy as Chios because they are very close to each other. You're going to be doing very similar things.
I have an important question.
Go on then.
Do they have a special unit, Kaizikin Epibatai or anything like that?
Yes, there's Kaizikin Epibatai, there's
Okay.
Kaizikin Hoplites, and there's Kaizikin Espidophoroi. Speaking of, Chios has one special unit, Achaean archers. They don't really, I mean, they're a professional archer, but what's that going to really do when you only have regular Greek hoplites?
Yeah, so Chios can be better than Chios, and Kaizikus can be better than Chios, but I still think Akragas is better than both of those, or all of those.
Yes.
All right, because of the Achaean archers, that's just tough to put Chios in front of Chios just because the start position.
No,
But
I think Chios has to be higher than them because Chios. I've been kayfabing a little bit, hating on Chios just because you like them so much, Ahowl, but they are definitely better than Kyzicus and Chios. Like, there's no two ways about it.
Kyzicus should be better than Chios.
Okay,
They have better units. It's basically the same starting position.
My mind's fucked now.
Orange is better than green.
Okay.
No,
Here.
green is better than orange.
So someone asked why they have an oil like rig as their icon. It's actually, I think that's like a holy flame,
right?
It's like an altar flame. Something.
Yeah, brazier.
Yeah, a brazen.
Ask Mausoleus.
Ask Mausoleus, yeah.
Right, on to Elis then. And I think Elis, as I've said, all factions on the Peloponnese that start on the Peloponnese have a decent chance of doing pretty well. Because as the player, you are cleverer than the AI guys. I mean, some of you might not believe that, but you are. I promise you, you are cleverer than the AI. So if you start as any of the factions on the Peloponnese, you've got a good chance of doing well. Now, there are 2 factions on the Peloponnese that are worse than the others. Now, no matter how bad that Spartan start is, the Eleans start with one of their main settlements having no walls.
That's the same as Sparta.
Yes, but Sparta just has one enemy right next to them, the Messene, that they can take out straight away. Whereas as Elis, you're going to be fighting the Achaeans, which have 4 settlements now. So it's a lot more difficult to fight the Achaeans than it is to attack Messene. On top of that, your roster is actually okay, but it's not incredibly amazing, but it's not terrible either. Obviously, no phalangites for these guys, but I think it's a solid B tier, I would say. Probably low B tier. Probably worse than Byzantium, but what do you guys think?
Mosca can go first.
I was going to say low B, high C. You nailed it.
Okay.
Okay, let me make... Whoa, okay. I thought Mosca was actually going to be on my side here. I'm not saying they're A.
Your side.
I'm not saying they're A tier. They're not A tier, okay? But let's consider the facts, all right? Facts.
The facts.
All right, we're about to
You
get notes.
start with the same size army as the Achaeans. Okay? The Achaeans have 4 settlements. Correct, yes. But 2 of those settlements were not updated, my fault, to be anything. They're just empty towns. So
Can't
4
believe
settlements, is a paper tiger. 2 of those settlements suck. Now, next update, different story. We can reconsider. But we're talking about this update. You can go straight for Aegeon, and if you take that and you win, the Achaeans are basically dead. And if you perform well in that battle, you could split your armies up and do that blitz tactic that Red does, take the rest. And the Achaeans are done. Okay? And you have Elis, which is a really good city. You just gotta build some walls. That would be like the only thing. And you have one of the best hoplites in the entire game, an Elian hoplite.
Mm-hmm.
So I would say B tier, better than both Byzantium and Chersonesos, just because of the Elian hoplites and the fact that you could take out one of the better factions in the region very early.
Doesn't Chersonesos get easy horse archers?
I mean, I guess if the AOR, but that's if you have to push east to get that, and I don't know if you look at Chersonesos' position, the 3 Scythian settlements to their east are not easy takes. They're hard garrisons to take, and so you don't have the army to do it. So horse archers could happen, but at a very great cost.
Okay.
What cost?
I think I can agree with some of that, especially the fact that the hoplites are so good.
They are good hoplites.
There is someone Piano just commented that Elis start with a powerful wonder. Now that is true.
That's true too.
But that is true.
At the same time, that wonder is not that useful to you when you start with 2 settlements at the start of the game, and the settlements that you will be taking will probably be pretty happy. They're not going to be upset because they've got low population. So that in and of itself, I don't think makes Elis any stronger of a start.
Yeah, it's good for late game scaling, but it doesn't do much at the start.
Yeah, and by that point, if you're a player in the region, you're going to have taken Elis anyway, aren't you? So, yeah, but I think I can agree. I'll put them ahead of Chersonesos. It still bugs me a bit that Chersonesos are so high, so I'm going to put Elis ahead of them. Is that okay with everyone?
I said B is good from the start, but sure.
Yeah. Right, yes. On to Priene next then. I believe... No, that's not Priene. This is Emporion. The purple, bro. The purple. I played Priene as well.
How could you do that to Emporion?
Yeah, exactly. Emporion, not famous for anything really apart from being a trading city. Well, it was a trading port plus a city on the mainland. These guys... You know, it's not a terrible start because you are surrounded by rebels at the moment. Obviously, that's going to change in future. But those rebel garrisons are quite large.
Yeah.
And they're Celts, which are going to have a lot stronger roster than you, or Celt-Iberians, which some of the Celt-Iberians you'll probably be able to beat, but the Celts especially are going to be tough to fight. I think, you know, high D, low C. It's not going to be exactly the most fun campaign either because you're not surrounded by factions. You're just fighting rebels. But I don't think it's terribly hard either just because of that fact.
D.
So the strategy would be to go straight for Massalia. I played 5 turns as Emporion. Remember I told you that. And I went straight for Massalia. So that would be the strat. And then you basically become Massalia, and then it's kind of like what you said, you're surrounded by rebels. I kind of would put them in the incomplete tier.
Yeah.
Because we don't have the Iberian factions in or the Gallic factions in. But regardless, I would say high D right now, and then in the future it would probably be low D.
Damn, they get demoted.
I put Acargas in front of them though, but I'd say
just more fun.
I would say maybe behind or above Chios. I don't know, but definitely behind Acargas. I
think it's a lot easier than Chios just because you don't have any pressure on you, do you? And
they do get a really cool looking hoplite, but the hoplite sucks.
Yeah, it's awful.
It's super cool looking. the shields and the red, but it's a crap unit. And then by the way, the Aliens, Elis, they do get that really cool unit, but they also have like a really crap levy unit in the Nianiskoi or the Ephemes or something. So yeah, I mean the Greeks have some cool units, but none of them are really good.
Yeah.
Realism.
And like exactly the Emporionites, just their roster's not great. It's not going to do you well against the Celts. So
By the way, Paul is very unhappy with our decision making. I think, are we giving Acarnanian too much credit?
now I think we are giving Acrogas too much because they're cool. But like I said,
for me, my logic is this: take over Sicily and you're fine.
yeah,
I don't think it's that hard. Maybe I'm just really good at the game, but I don't think it's that.
I am willing to put them ahead because, like I say, it's not exactly difficult as Emporion because you have no one around you. It's more difficult in the fact that like you're not going to be able to snowball as much because you're just taking out rebel garrisons with shit Greek troops against Celts. So, but it's just not that fun, really, is it?
I think Emporion will be. I think I know a lot of people who like Emporion. From what I've seen on chats and stuff, I think Emporion will be one of the more fun campaigns to play when the Iberians and the Gauls are finished because it's a Greek faction in Gallic Iberian territory. I think Massalia will be even more fun to play then too. So, but like again, for right now, it is boring, and you don't really know how hard it is because you don't face a faction unless you take out another faction for a long time.
So yeah, I'm happy to put them there at the high end of D at the moment. There might be some other Ds that go ahead of them, but we don't know. But should we do? We're going to do the Cretan factions now, starting with Gortin. But should we just do them, like, we can do them all together because they are pretty much all the same, really, in terms of their start, apart from maybe Litos because they start bordering the Ptolemies. But apart from them, I think, Kydonia is probably the best. But the Cretan factions, in my opinion, the Cretan factions are very much like the CK3 or CK2 tactic of going to Beginner Island, which is Ireland, and starting as one of the kings or the dukes of Ireland. No, not the king, the duke of one of these counties. And you learn the game that way. And I see Crete very similar because you're not really going to get invaded. Maybe the Spartans will land an army, but that's about it. Maybe the Ptolemies will bring one across, but it's very unlikely. So you can just go about it as you want to with your at your leisure. So yeah, I think they're all... None of them are particularly difficult. Probably Knossos is the hardest because it's split. But yeah, none of them are particularly difficult. And I don't think they're particularly bad either. And of course you get Cretan archers, which are some of the best archers in the game. They all have pretty unique units as well, although none of those units are too OP. So I would say they're all just a solid, probably, it's hard, C or B tier? I don't know.
Well,
what do you think?
You're trying to do them all at once. So let's break this down.
Well, they're all the same.
So,
oh no! He was trying to save time.
I know he was. So Litos, it doesn't make a difference if the Ptolemies are bordering it. So there's literally one general. You take them out, Ptolemies are gone. So they're not a threat. Litos have Lycian Hetyroi.
Yeah.
So they have a better cavalry unit than the others. Their hoplites. So here's the thing: they all share Cretan hoplites for the most part. Gnossian hoplites,
which are really good.
Yeah, Gnossian hoplites and Gortinian hoplites are just city-state variants of Cretan hoplites for the most part. So they have very good hoplites compared to other Greeks. They have way better archers than other Greeks, and I believe they have a little bit better of a slinger than the other Greeks, just by like a tier. So they have a better overall roster. Now, in comparison, Knossos, they have the Hippes and the late Hippes, and they have an Aspidophoroi. So they do have some cavalry options. as does Gortyn. So Gortyn and Knossos are like tied. Litos doesn't get all the cavalry options, but they do get a Hetyroi, which is pretty good in its own right because it's a Hetyroi with a big shield. Kydonia does not have any special units except for its own city-state variant of the Archer. With that being said, Kydonia probably has the best start because it's away from the action. So I would put Kydonia first. I'd probably put Litos second.
B tier?
And yeah, I mean B tier. So Kydonia, Litos, Gortyn, Knossos.
Yeah, I would say Knossos is last.
Literally only because
I like the Kydonia symbol because it looks like he's doing something that I like to do every night before I go to sleep.
And is that the spectre at the feast looking through the window on the right there of the Litos?
Yeah, Litos. But B tier, yeah, for sure. I mean, I would even put A tier because Crete's kind of easy.
Yeah, they start only with 2 settlements each, right? So it is.
Yeah, but you conquered Crete in 13 turns.
13 turns, yeah, and it should have been under 10. It should have been 10 turns, really.
Exactly.
So
why wouldn't these be? Yeah, why wouldn't these be A or at the least higher than the other B?
Yeah, that's true. They should be easier than them, but it's just because Crete isn't like that rich at the start. Like, it's not terrible, but it's not amazing. But I definitely will put them higher than these other ones.
They have better overall units than all the other Greek factions for the most part. I'm not saying all of them, but for the most part. And if you take all of Crete, okay, yeah, maybe individually they suck region-wise, but collectively, I mean, you get all those ports. Yeah. I mean, and then you have all of Crete as a recruitment base because you get all those capitals, and you could take the Peloponnese pretty easily. Or you could go for Rhodes, and if you get Rhodes, you get Rhodian Hoplites and Rhodian Slingers. You could go down and take out Kyrene. I mean, I say low A tier.
Well, let's see what goes in A, and then. Well, I don't know. I agree. I like the Cretans too. I like the fact that they used to go out hunting mountain goats. So yeah, we'll stick them in. We'll stick them in there. On to Heraclea Pontica then. I hope Mouseloss isn't watching this because this is going to be low.
Dude, I love that faction. What do you mean?
Mouseloss doesn't care enough to watch this, so you can say whatever you want.
Yeah, fuck Mouseloss.
You like the faction, Mosca, but that doesn't mean they're good. They're not good.
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know shit about the faction, but of all the new Greek factions, their symbol is one of my favorites. I think it looks really cool. So
yeah,
I would say it's probably one of Moslos' favorite factions. They are part of that. They're part of that Northern League, so you have allies to your west. Your main opponent is the Greeks to the north in Sesamos and Kytoron. I mean, you take that. If you're able to beat the Greeks early and you take that, you have 2 easy rebel settlements to take before you're bordering Sinope. Other than that, you do have a region bordering you of the Galatians, but their main army is very far away from you, and this is tough terrain to traverse. Paphlagonia also lurks in the area, but I wouldn't worry about them. So your first move would probably be to take out those Greeks and those 2 rebels, and you have the whole coastline.
But don't those Greeks have really big garrisons, though?
Only one.
Okay, one does.
Sesamos has probably like an equal army as you, and the player can probably beat that army. The next Greek city right next to it has no garrison. It's just a general. And the 2 rebel settlements after that are very weak in small towns. So, like I said, if you take those, you have Sinope. But by that point, you'll probably want to come back and retrain. And at that point, either the Galatians will be probably prowling around, or the Bithynians might try to attack you. So, but I honestly, I think they're a B tier, and at worst C tier. If they're going to be C tier, I'd say high C tier, because you have to also consider and understand they have a decent roster. They have Heraclea Hoplite.
Yes. Wait. Can I jump in? I'm sorry. Can I jump in? Tag team me in?
Yeah.
Okay. Sure. Thanks, dude. I got really excited to say this, but I forgot. But I didn't want to interrupt you. But you mentioned the roster. They have the Heraclea Pontica, which is
Yeah.
one of the coolest new units that we added. It's a hoplite with a recurve bow, which means they have a shield that gives them like 6 or 8 shield value, and a bow with 160 range, and they have a spear as well. They're a really fucking strong unit, dude.
Okay.
Yes, that and Heraclea hoplites, I believe, are standard hoplites, not levy hoplites. So you have a decent hoplite, and the Horophylaces or Horophylaces or whatever they're called, got a buff right before the release was made. So they went from like a standard javelinman to a professional javelinman because Maslow said that they were not like a peltast, they were border patrol who were always fighting tribes and keeping the border safe. So they were like always fighting, always battle hardened. So they deserve to be better than like a peltast. So I would say B tier, and honestly, I would put them below Elis.
Ooh, I see.
Above Elis. I think above Elis.
I think they're C tier, bro.
You think they're C tier, bro?
Okay, so what's your argument for them to be C tier?
The land around there is terrible. Trust me, I know. I've played in that region quite a bit. Tears. The land is terrible. There's not that many good areas in terms of conquest. If you go, you can go north up to Sinope. Then who are you going to fight? Pontus? Galatians? If you fight the Galatians, you're done for. They'll absolutely ruin you. If you go south down to Bithynia and fight the Seleucids, you're done for. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think they're a very good faction.
Maslow hates you now.
No, in terms of gameplay, bro, like I'm not talking about their history.
What do you think, Moscow? C or B?
Deciding vote.
I would go either high C, low B. Because I see the economic complaints are valid, but I still think they have really good units.
Yeah, I agree with the units. We'll put them in B.
Low B.
Low B. Yeah.
Below Byzantium. How about that?
Yeah, that's fine. On to Histria then. So, honestly, this is another area that I haven't played in that much. So, what do you think, Ahowl? We'll listen to what you have to say first.
Okay, they only get one unit in Istrian archers. I believe that's a professional archer unit, and they were, I believe they were recruited to help protect against the Getae, and then that they had their allied Getae tribes supplied them with like armor and helmet, so they're kind of like an armored professional archer. They have like scale armor, so pretty good archer unit. Other than that, they got nothing special. They do have an interesting setup too. So they have their capital in Istri, and they have Orgame right next to it. But then way up north near Olbia, they have a little town called Istrian on Lemon. You're surrounded by CG. The CG may or may not attack, or they might leave you alone. Olbia does loom. The fact that you would hold on to that is slim, or the chances you'd hold on to that are slim. But looking at their starting army, you have two moves. I think you're allied to the Pentapolis, so you could forsake that and just go straight for it and just go right down and take the northern Pentapolis cities before you run into the Thracian CG. You could also provoke the Getae, who are right here west, but if you do that, they have a much larger army than you. So I would say this is a D tier for sure, because your army is not large and not good. And you have that settlement to the north that, I mean, you might get some income for a bit, but that's likely going to go away. And you have some rebel settlements to your north as well, but they're equal size to you. And as we know, if rebel settlements are close enough, their garrisons can reinforce each other. So if you try to siege one, the other one might come in and try to help out. So yeah, man, I think they're a D tier. But because we have so many D tier.
Well, we got a lot of factions, man.
Yeah.
I would put Histria. I would put them between Kaizakos and Chios.
between Cyzicus and Chios.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I think that's better than Chios, just because you have more, like, you have richer avenues for expansion if you do well. Like, the Pontic Pentapolis is decent land, rich land, so yeah.
I mean, you could take Tomis, and Calatus. Sure, that's a lot. Those are two large towns with ports. But after that, you're directly confronted with a huge Thracian garrison at Trapezus. So yeah, I mean that would probably be the best move. You could go retrain, maybe have a couple more units recruited, and then take Trapezus. You don't really have a threat to the north, but you do have an immediate threat to the west in the Getae. So, all right, let's see.
I'll stick them there. That's fine. Like I say, I don't really play in that region very often, so I am going to.
I don't think they're very strong.
What'd you say?
I think they're weak.
I think they're weak. So weaker than Chios.
That's why they're in D. Right, let's go on to Issa, and I'll start with Issa because I love Issa. I think Issa is a great faction. Syracusans on the Illyrian coast, ready to fight the Illyrians. Now, I think Issa is fantastic. The only thing letting them down is their roster. Like, those Isaian hoplites are not worth their weight in iron. They are awful. They are a terrible unit. They are fucking terrible. What an awful unit. Why? No. They are so bad. They are so bad, especially against the javelins of the Illyrians now. So bad. But you can just get Greek hoplites instead, who have armor, who'll be able to take the javelins. I think it's cool having a Greek faction in the area. You get to fight the Illyrians as the Greeks, which is kind of a unique experience apart from maybe Epirus and Macedon. Unless you, of course, then become the hegemon of Greece and then go on to fight the Illyrians. But at the start of the game, it's quite a unique, interesting thing. You're not hugely strong, but you're not weak either. I would say Issa is a pretty standard, solid B tier. Don't think it's that difficult. You start with some decent settlements, with some ports, with some pretty weak enemies nearby. Let's be honest, the RDAI at the start, really weak, can go and take them out pretty quickly. The Delmate, probably a little bit stronger, but you can take them out pretty quickly too. The Liburni are probably the only ones that you really need to worry about. So yeah, I would say it's a pretty decent faction, not too difficult, but also really fun. But what do you guys think?
You say B tier?
Yes.
Dude, it sounded like you were gonna say they suck, and then you're like, dude, their units are so bad, they got shredded by the javelin, and I'm gonna put them in B tier. And I was like, oh, okay. So that took me by surprise, that's all.
No, I'm saying the Isaian hoplites are terrible. Yeah. They're awful.
Yes.
Okay, so what else do you have?
You have the standard Greek roster.
The Isaian hoplites are worse than the Greek hoplites, though.
Yeah, you have Greek hoplites.
No, you don't.
Yeah, you do.
Where?
One of those cities is a level 3, I'm sure.
I'm checking right now.
And you get Isaian Epibartai, which are really good.
Nah, dude, they're not B tier, bro. The Delmate are way better than them.
We're not ranking the Delmate.
We're not ranking the Illyrians, we're ranking the Greeks.
No, I know. I'm not saying in ranking. I'm saying you're like, oh, you could just go take out the Delmate. That's not too hard. What? You have a worse army than the Delmate. The Delmate start way stronger than you.
No.
How else exactly is tweaking?
The RDA, I have a village next to you. You have to traverse rebels and CGs before you really take out the RDAI. I mean, unless you want to boat bomb them, I get it. If you want to do that, sure. But then the Delmate will just attack you. Bro, this is a low C tier at best.
No way. No way.
Low C tier. We'll go. Seriously, you think that's an easy campaign?
It's not easy. That's why I said B tier.
Okay, lowest B tier at the absolute.
So you think Elis is easier than Issa?
Yes.
How many settlements do you start off with Issa?
More, but you have way better things to conquer as Elis, and you don't have as much of a you don't have as strong of a tick out. You're good.
So Ludwig Nigel says, yeah, everyone can use AOR units. So what do you say to that, Zach? Because he just kind of blasted you, dude.
What?
You just got blasted in the chat, dude.
That's fine. You can use the AOR units, the Greek AOR units. It's fine.
Any faction can use AOR units, so how does that make them good?
No, it doesn't make them good.
Saying.
What I'm saying is...
So how are they B tier?
What I'm saying is that the Achaean hoplites are terrible, right? So you take a Greek city, so you take the one next to Nestos, whatever it's called, and then you have access to Greek hoplites, which can actually withstand the javelins. I think this is good, man. I think this is good. I think a good faction. Okay, Byzantium's probably better than them. Chersonesos is better.
Bottom of C tier, man. I'll give you that.
Are they better than Argos, bro? They're definitely better than Argos.
I don't know. Argos has Argyle.
Okay, right. I will put them in C tier. Put them in between Argos and Acarnanian League.
Rome is good because when they conquer Greece, they get access to Greek AOR.
I didn't say that. I said you could get Greek hoplites nearby, which will do pretty well. So can all the Illyrian factions, but guess what? We're not fucking ranking the Illyrian factions. We're ranking the Greek factions. And they're the only Greek faction in the region. So sorry for mentioning something that they get access to. Oh yeah, all the Illyrian factions get access to. We're not fucking ranking the Illyrian factions. So it doesn't matter.
It's not the fact that we're talking about their starting position, and all the Illyrian factions have a better roster at the very beginning than the Saiyans, so that's what makes them C tier compared to the other Greeks. The other Greeks have to contend with other Greeks. The Saiyans have to contend with the Illyrians, and the Illyrian roster has all the axemen, which are armor piercing. And then the Achaeans don't even start with units that have armor. They're basically a Greek Illyrian. Like, I'm just saying the Delmatae have a better army. The RDAI, you have to go out of your way to get them. The Liburni are the most powerful in the region. I don't see how you could think that's a B tier faction. I say C tier. It's a challenge. That would be a challenging campaign.
Okay. Challenge video accepted.
Right. Can't wait.
And you took them out so easily as the RDAI too. That it's not really helping their cause.
Oh yeah, no, but like that's fine. That's the player playing though, isn't it? So yeah. Right. We're gonna ignore. I'm just gonna forget about Issa. We'll go on to Megalopolis then next. And I think this is one we'll probably all agree on. Pretty low down. Got to be pretty low down.
Once you get to India and get Indian elephants, they are good. S tier.
It's true. It's true.
Megalopolis S tier because it's a naked guy with a piece of poop in his hand.
That's what I always said, dude. That's what it looks like he's doing. He's saying, look at what I made.
It's kind of similar to your Kydonia guy up there as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, Megalopolis I think is not a good faction. Like you get Megalopolitan Chalcospides, which is pretty good. But
yeah.
And again you are on Peloponnese, so again, pretty good that you're on the Peloponnese. So
No. This is the one Peloponnesian faction that is crap. Because look, you start just like Argos, right? But Argos gets 2 cities, and they can get Argive Epilectoi. Megalopolitan Chalcospides, are pikes. They're not as flexible. Yes, they can be formed like that battle line. I get it. But as far as the start is concerned, you get 1 settlement, and all the factions around you are probably going to be better than you. Maybe Messene is the only one that you could like get some kind of traction, but Sparta will attack you immediately, and your army will probably be on par with Sparta. You have the GCS as a wall to your east, and then you have Elis. Not to mention the 1 rebel settlement, or the 2 rebel settlements nearby. Leprion is a decent garrison, Sophis is a weak garrison, but they have 2 generals to contend with. So again, really depends on what your starting army is. You only get, I think you'll get 1 general too. You might get an adoption the very next turn, but like that is a D tier, and I think it's going to be one of the hardest factions. I am hoping you do a challenge video on them because I would love to see how you can survive, and not just survive but thrive on the Peloponnese as them. However, if you can survive, yes, you do get the Chopispides and you get the Arcadian Peltas, who are a pretty good Peltas unit. But just that getting out of that first few turns, I would love to see how anybody could do that.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking they were D tier anyway, but it's just where we put them in D tier. And
you know what I want to see is I want someone to play as Macedon, have Macedon be a really strong faction, and then make Megalopolis revolt on purpose, and then play as Megalopolis and try to fight the Macedon you built. I think that would be really cool. But
dude,
I don't
you're like your Red's like life is passing before his very eyes right now.
You should do that, Zach.
No, I would like to do that with the Egyptians, honestly.
You can do that too, but that'll be easier than Megalopolis. Just saying.
Yeah. But maybe more fun. Right, let's. I think I would say Megalopolis is probably above Chios and Kitticus.
Absolute worst.
Worst?
Sure. I don't see
absolute worst. Damn.
I don't see a faction that has a worse start.
Chios?
No.
You got Seleucids nearby with full stacks.
Yeah, that Seleucid full stack can just wipe you out if it wants to.
Yeah, but Chios, you can just escape and take out Byzantium.
But then how are you going to train units, retrain?
I mean, okay, what are you going to do with Megalopolis?
Well,
What's the pro for Megalopolis at the very beginning? Like, where do you go? Messene?
Messene or Elis,
That's your best. Elis, no, Elis will whoop you. They have a lay-in hot plate. Hey, Sophis, maybe you get a second city in Sophis, but then what? I mean, I think they're the worst. Okay, and if they're not the worst, they're at least the second worst.
I'll say maybe they are the worst. It was just you were like they're the worst, and I was like, oh wow, they're the worst. That's harsh, but maybe you were right. Maybe they are the worst. I don't know.
Okay, I would put them here, but I will accept that they're the worst. I'll have to play them.
Wait. Chios is the faction that doesn't have a unique unit, so therefore Megalopolis is better than Chios.
Okay, I'm doing it more on just what units.
Yeah, it doesn't matter too much about the unique units because the unique unit could be the Phrygian spearmen.
Wow, they got something.
Nothing. They got nothing. Speaking of D tier factions, let's talk about Messene then.
Our beloved Messene.
Yeah, they die pretty quick in most campaigns.
It's so funny.
What's
they just get bullied. Yeah. I said I love their history. They just get bullied.
Yeah. So unfortunate for Messene, but yeah, they're not very strong. Although that Spartan army isn't the strongest thing in the world at the start of the game, you're still going to have a tough time, I feel like, as Messene.
Yeah.
Similar
Fun
to
fact,
Mega.
We actually intentionally weakened Messene because they kept defeating Sparta. So we had to because Sparta's so weak, we had to make Messene even worse to make Sparta survive.
Yeah. Seriously. So as a player, I'm like,
actually Messene is better than Sparta. Is what I'm trying to say.
All these D tier factions, I mean, you've already done Acargas, but like seriously, challenge videos, every single one. But anyways, Messene, I honestly, man, they're kind of like Megalopolis. I do think your army has a chance of beating the Spartan army. And I'm thinking back to your Spartan guide where you almost lost to Messene in that battle at the beginning.
Dude, what a noob. How would you do that?
They weren't easy to beat. So if they weren't easy to beat, as a player, I think the Messene could probably take out Sparta because, I mean, the first play of the game, Sparta is not walled. You could go and just assault the city and then defend it from the army reinforcing. I mean, and then Sparta is effectively done at that point because they have a port and an island. And then you become Sparta without the Spartan units.
I mean,
I don't know where to put them though. That's the thing.
I still think D tier. I would say worse than Emporion just because Emporion's so easy. Probably, I don't know. It's hard to say whether it's better than Akragas or not.
I think it's better than Akragas from a starting perspective. Akragas has better potential because, well, I don't know. I mean, Akragas having all of Sicily compared to Messene having all of the Peloponnese.
Yeah, exactly. What do you think, Mosca?
I still think that Akragas is better.
Okay. In between Akragas and Chios?
Sure.
Yeah, I'd say that's fair.
Seems about right, that, to be fair. So now on to Miletus, and another emergent faction that is completely
you
emerged.
Like those tales. You like to listen to those Milesian tales.
Oh yeah, exactly. This is Mosca's favorite faction, obviously. But
it's
yeah,
actually Mosca's true secret favorite faction.
Yeah, it is. I mean, these guys have a cool history, but it's going to be a difficult start, isn't it? I mean, you get pumped out in between what Priene, the Ptolemies,
you'll be
and the
doing some
Seleucids.
pumping when you're playing as Miletus.
What units do you get? You get Horophilarches, Neo-Cretans, and Hoplites. I don't know how good those Hoplites are, though. How good are they in terms of...
I don't think they're anything special. I think they're just a levy.
Yeah. So, nothing special. You pop out between the Ptolemies and the Seleucids, and basically you're going to have to do what I did in my Priene campaign, which is run away as fast as possible. Take out Priene, destroy all the buildings, run to an island, find yourself a new home. And that is the tactic as these guys, but not exactly the easiest faction, I would say.
I don't think it's that, even that strategy is going to be as simple. When you start off with an army you have no idea that's going to be given to you. Priene gets 3 generals, a hippotrophoi, an epilectoi, a hoplite. Like, they have a pretty decent starting army. Miletus, you might start with crap. And then you'll, like I said, you're an emergent faction with 1 city, so you'll get 1 general. You might get an adoption the very next turn, but you don't start with ships. So you're going to have to build your ships. And then the prospects of taking out Priene at the very beginning, I don't know. Like, depends on where that Prienian army goes and how you can, and what your army looks like. And then you border Halicarnassus to the south, and they have a full stack of Ptolemaic units.
Yeah.
I would say this is going to be I know the Priene video was fun and it was hard. I would love to see you do the same with Miletus because it's different. There's like different circumstances. I definitely think it'd be a lot harder, but I don't know. I don't know what you would do.
Yeah, I think it's pretty difficult.
Know. I mean, I would put this is one of the worst factions, I think. I don't know where, but I think it's one of the worst just as far as like how they start. I think Priene, you proved that Priene has a horrible start, but I mean, you could pretty much take that army and you took out Chios, you took out all those islands, you made it so where you could probably go take out Pergamon. Miletus doesn't really have that luxury of having 3 generals, an epilectoi, a decent hoplite, and a hippotrophoi at the beginning.
Yeah. And without the ship, you then have to recruit the ship in your city rather than recruiting a unit, which could be crucial when you are bobbing around on your boat trying to find a new homeland. So where do we think then? Do we think worse than Megalopolis? Better than Megalopolis?
I have a change of
just to be a devil's advocate, the fact that it's an emergent faction means that you spawn with a random army. And yeah, maybe you will spawn with a dogshit army. But if you do, you can just exit the campaign and make a new campaign and see if you start with a better one. So
Oh my
maybe
God.
it's not that bad if you want to like roll the dice a couple times so you get a decent stack.
I mean, yeah, but it's still not going to be great.
So now that I think about it, I think Miletus is actually the worst faction. Because
the worst.
At least in Megalopolis, you have the prospects of taking out Messene. You don't have the prospects of really taking out anybody. I mean, maybe Priene, but like we already discussed
Priene and Chios and
maybe Chios, but you have to build that boat.
Rhodes.
Pergamon's way better. Pergamon has a better army. Rhodes has a better army. Here's the only thing. This is a RNG strategy. If Rhodes decides it wants to take Kaunos on the mainland, and it leads Rhodes undefended, maybe Rhodes is the play. But I don't know.
I mean,
we can put it above Megalopolis.
I think Megalopolis should be above Miletus.
I feel like these three factions all have very similar predicaments, basically. And oh shit, where did that go? And then when we do Priene, that's another one that has and Chios as well. So 4, and then Priene as well will make 5 factions that all have pretty similar starting quandrums.
Yeah.
So on to Olbia then. Right up in the north of the Black Sea. Again, not played in this region so much. So, Ahowl, what do you want to say about them?
They're only a one region faction, but they don't have a lot of competition near them. That's the Scythians aren't in yet. When the Scythians are in, it might be a different story. Honestly, looking at this, you have an easy Greek city to take from the Greeks to your southwest. You have a very easy Greek city to take to your west in Karkine. You then have the pretty much empty Histrian city in Istrian on Lyman to take. That's 3 easy takes in a row. You then have Niconion that you could take. And then the Tyrus garrison would have to go around. I mean, that would be your first decent battle. But you could boom 1, 2, 3, 4. I would say this is B tier, and it's very similar to the Chersonesos strat. But it's like backwards. But I think it would be an easier start than the Chersonesos strat. Chersonesos strat, you have to kind of go out of your way to get these cities. Olbia, they're like right next to you, and you can get them quicker. And I think you start with a better army than Chersonesos too. You get the Olbiopolite hoplites, which are an interesting unit, but they're levy. But you get 2 good archer units. You get the mixed Hellenic archers, which are like a Scythian Greek mixed archer, and you get the Olbiopolite archers, and both of these have like that Scythian bow. So you get some pretty good archer units. And so looking at the tier, I would say they're either below or above Elis, based on what you guys think.
Hard one. I don't think they're that good. I would put them above Heraclea Pontica, but probably below Byzantium.
Okay, what makes them worse than Chersonesos?
Just because they start with one set. How many settlers they start with? 1 or 2?
1.
Yeah,
but they have a better army and they can take settlements quicker than Chersonesos.
I mean, I wanted Chersonesos in C anyway, so but we've put them there. So if that's the thing, But then when you look at these two, like Byzantium has what 4 or 5 cities in a pretty rich region.
Yeah, but they have a lot of competition around them.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, I'm happy with that anyway. What do you think,
Yeah,
Moscow?
Olbia doesn't have the prospect of the Bosporans looming on them immediately like Chersonesos.
Yeah.
Chersonesos, you have to use the 3 rebel settlements as a blockade, whereas Olbia has more of a luxury.
Olbia is the green one with the axe and the bow quiver, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they're fine. They'll probably be harder later.
Yeah. So
they have really good archery.
Yeah, isn't one of their archers an axe wielding one?
Yeah, the mixed Hellenics, and then you got the Olbiopolites.
Yeah, cool.
Sure.
So on to Pontic Pentapolis then. So I think these guys are pretty good. I mean, the only issue I see with the Pontic Pentapolis is if you're playing on hard or very hard, there is the chance that literally everyone's just going to dogpile on you because you border so many different factions, or you will do if you take a few settlements. However, I'd say pretty decent start. You get a lot of large towns, a couple of towns, and probably making quite a bit of money. So yeah, I don't think it's a terrible start. I don't think it's a really difficult start, but there is the chance on those harder difficulties that everyone is going to dogpile on you. So yeah, I would say they're quite high though. I would say higher than Elis, but what do you guys think?
I'll say their army is not very interesting, but they have an amazing economy, so they should be ranked pretty high.
They do get Thracian noble cavalry as a faction.
And Epilectoi as well.
And they get a Tomisian Epilectoi, but it's available in Tomis. And it's a reform unit. Their army is...
They could get some AOR Greek hoplites, mate.
Oh shit, okay. S tier.
Yeah.
No, but they are actually pretty good. I would rank them pretty highly personally.
Yeah.
Their army starts out spread out, but it wouldn't take long to unify it. You could probably take out with your unified army and all those generals with. You could probably take out that Thracian CG settlement that divides your lands, and then go straight for Histria and take it out. That pretty much solidifies your north. You'll have to contend with Tylis and the Getae though. That'll be your main issue. And then to the south, I mean, it's such a long strip of land. You got Kabyle, the Odrysians, Asti, and Byzantium.
Yeah.
To your south. So if I was a player, I'd probably rush and take out Histria and that Thracian CG ASAP to secure my north. And then it's basically just fighting off the Getae and Tylis simultaneously. But like what Mosca said, your economy is so good that I think you have at least one recruitment center that can pump out decent units, maybe 2. I
would say they're a solid A. Like I would say higher than the Cretan factions, just because of that.
DGX Piano says they are a candidate for S tier, and I'm inclined to agree. But Ludwig says they need to have a cool army for S tier, so they should belong in A. That economy they have is really good, man. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
I think they deserve a high spot. I really do.
I was gonna say the highest B tier, but I'll relinquish that.
No, they A minimum.
I would say higher than the Cretans. Let's put them in A for now.
Yeah.
And let's see. We might
if S looks too lonely, they might get bumped up.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, dude, Messene is coming up, so we're gonna have some S tiers real soon.
I'll be right back.
And
start without me.
Yeah, and make sure you are liking this video, guys. There's been plenty of disagreements and controversy. Issa, and some stupid statements from me, but
yeah, but that's normal.
I was too in the argument, bro. I was too in the argument. But yeah, no. Make sure you do like and subscribe, guys, if you are enjoying this. This is going pretty well so far. We don't have too many left to rank. But yeah, no, it's going pretty well. And remember, a lot of these factions that we've done so far, they're all the tiny little ones. Like, none of these factions are like the big main factions, which we are actually coming up to now. So I'll sprinkle in some of these smaller ones in the middle of them as well. So yeah, bring them up to now. So that is going to be good. But we are on to Priene next, and one that I have had the joy to play. The joy to play. Yeah, I think it's got to be D tier, along with all of these factions that rely on just running away. But I think better than Megalopolis, better than Miletus, probably around the same as Cyzicus and Chios. But what do you guys think?
Yeah,
I was
basically in the same neighborhood.
I was gonna say C tier. That didn't seem like a very challenging campaign when you were playing it. I mean, yeah, you ran away, so I get that aspect, but you took out Chios pretty easily. You took out all those islands pretty easily. You were pretty much set up to do whatever you wanted, and I would say C tier.
I don't know. I think now it would be a lot harder because you can't destroy the recruitment buildings and also recruit your own units.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, if you lose Priene, you're screwed.
Which you will do. So I think D for this patch. Last patch I could agree with very low C, but this patch I think D. I would say. What are we saying though? We're saying these guys. I think these guys are probably worse than Chios, just because you start bordering the bad guys, the big bad guys, and you're probably going to get attacked by them quicker than Chios does, and that's the only reason why I would say they're probably just slightly worse than Chios.
I don't know, man. They got a better roster than Chios, and a better starting army than Chios. The only thing about Chios that has an edge on them is Chios may not lose. I mean, no, actually, I don't know, because Pergamon could come for Chios pretty easy. I've seen a lot of campaigns where Pergamon goes for Chios early. So I feel like they have equal chance of losing their capital city early. I'd say Priene is probably below Messene.
Okay, I'm happy to accept that. Yeah, that's fine. All of these 5 factions are all pretty much the same in terms of what you have to do with them. So, unsurprisingly, they're all next to each other.
Just letting you know, the chat hates Priene.
Yeah, literally F and G. Brave Priene. But
we are not Priene fans.
Priene has the distinction of being the only Greek city, right, that fought the Galatians in real life.
And won.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up. I was like, weren't they the ones that beat the Galatians and made them
They're hard
away?
as fuck, bro. In real life, they were hard as fuck. They fought the Galatians and won. Everyone else went into their cities and hid. So, but yeah, in the game, unfortunately, you have to do what everyone else did and run away.
And if you watched the video that Zach did with where he was interviewing Mausoleus about the new Greek factions, you learn that Priene has had a very interesting and very distinct culture about where they had like a more egalitarian society, and they were like rivals of Miletus, who are very oligarchic, and it was very interesting stuff. So I think that also earns them some points. I think Priene deserves a decent ranking for that.
Well, then we could give everyone else here like a bump up because of this.
Not all of those have interesting stories. Come on, boring.
No.
Yeah, I think Priene deserves a little extra credit.
Well,
That's the brazen bull.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. I mean, if we went through every faction's history, there would be some interesting stuff. So I think we keep how we've been ranking it so far.
I'm I'm just saying. I'm not saying not to change the rank. I'm just saying. I think people are being a little too harsh on them. I think they have some cool stuff.
Paul says, "Wow, that's so neat." Still, F.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Bert says in his campaign, Priene survived till the mid game before being eaten by Miletus, who ended up taking all of Western. And I tell you, so I guess Miletus in that example won the rivalry. But yeah, no, it is cool that little rivalry, literally across a bay from each other.
I wonder if Bert's campaign was pre the last patch when Miletus was getting spammed with armies.
Yeah. With what, Lycian ones?
Well, yeah, like any of the emergent factions were just spamming recruitment centers and spamming armies.
Yeah. Right, let's move on to Sinope. And far in the north, in mid-north of Anatolia, remained a settlement for a very, very long time, and had a pretty famous fortress there. But this is a lot later in history. Not a great faction, let's be honest. Kind of similar to Heraclea Pontica in terms of the start, obviously further east. So I think the moves are going to be similar, unless you want to go after Paphlagonia or Pontus, which you could do actually. You could face Pontus. But I think probably going to be difficult to fight off those Asian royal bodyguards unless the AI is completely dumb about using them, which the AI generally is, so maybe that's not much of an argument. But again, you're going to have to go for those Greek settlements, maybe go towards Trapezus, it's up to you, but not the best start, kind of isolated, but then at the same time, maybe not the prime target for some of the big factions around you either.
I would say low C.
Yeah, I could agree with that.
You have the two really easy settlements to your left, or going west, that you could take. You do have a decent size settlement in Gadolon to your east, and then you have CGs on either side after that. Pontus will probably loom an attack, but you do have 3 good units. You have an Epileptoi unit, which is basically just like a standard hoplite. You have a Sinopian archer, and you have a Sinopian epibatai. So you have good missile units to combat. And think about it, you're facing if you're facing Pontus, they have really weak infantry, and all those missile units could really help you out.
Yeah.
So I would say a low C tier for me. You do have to contend with Heraclea Pontica, the Galatians. Paphlagonia is not really a contention. And then, I mean, honestly, you could even go north and take out like Chersonesos if you wanted to.
Yeah, I would agree with low C. Like they're not great. They don't have a great start, but it's not completely awful like, you know, Priene or Miletus or anything like that. And you know, long-term game is gonna be slogging it out against the Pontics, the Seleucids, the Galatians. So that's gonna be quite difficult as well. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think lower than the Acarnanians?
Let's see what does Moscow have to say on it.
I think C is a good spot for them.
Yeah.
I don't know about them being stronger or weaker than Acarnania. Maybe Acarnania is a better place to start than Sinope, so maybe Acarnania is better.
Yeah, I'd say Acarnania could take out Aetolia pretty easily and have the. Oh, I didn't even consider that when talking about Acarnania.
What?
Well, Acarnania could probably take out Aetolia if they can win the first battle, and if you do that, you can get the Aetolia AOR. No, I take that back. Aetolia's got way better. I take that back. That's not an easy fight. You have to really like. I mean, you do. Never mind. You have 1, 2, 3. You have 3 units in Lucas. That's 3 plus 4. The general that's standing around, and so you get 4 generals to start. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4 units. I mean, 4 units of general. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 regular units. Yeah, you know what? Never mind. Acarnania could I think Acarnania is better than Issa.
Oh, that's obviously.
Yeah, like, because if you take Aetolia, you get the Acarnanian and Aetolian units at that point. And Thermone is not like a major city. I mean, it's a town, and that's what their army is, and you could take them out in turn 2.
No.
So I
Yeah, I
think
mean, this is trash. So like,
I would put I would even put Acarnania above just because of that. I mean, you get the whole Aetolian roster at that point.
No.
I didn't consider that because I wasn't looking at the map when we first started. So yeah, man.
I thought you argued with me talking about AOR before.
Huh?
well, that's just how it is sometimes.
I don't know. I just don't think Acarnania is that good.
Dude,
I mean, what's wrong with them, dude? They're really good. What do you mean?
I don't know where you're getting at. You take the army, you go, you click Thermone, you besiege it. Turn 1 passes, you assault, you win the battle, and then now Pactos, which is a better settlement, you go take that with your remnants of your army. I mean, the only thing Aetolia has west of that is Delphoi and Tetropolis. I mean, you pretty much wipe out a major contender and you become a major contender and you get all their units.
Yeah, he's spitting right now.
We're not talking about AOR.
He's spitting right now, though, dude.
I agree with that, actually. I think better than Argos as well, probably then.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I think Acarnania is the highest seed.
Yeah, at least
you could lose Aetolia in that battle, and then you're screwed. And then you got Epirus in the north. So
yeah,
I would take Acarnania. But I mean, we could go on and on. I mean, we could debate Acarnania, Heraclea, but I think making that change is good.
Yeah, cool. I think you're cutting out a little bit.
All right, let me rejoin.
Yeah. So now we come on to an actual big boy, a proper faction. And yeah, we're on the Achaean League.
Oh yeah, the Achaeans.
I love the Achaean League. Fantastic faction. You're on the Peloponnese, so lots of rich land around you.
Tier.
I mean, yeah.
Next.
I mean, there is an argument for them not being an S tier, though. As much as I don't want to make it, there is an argument for it. But I think,
I'll allow it.
Although you only start with 4 settlements, not the richest of land, you have one of the best probably the best Greek roster, in my opinion, that has great reform units, that is fantastic from the start of the game. So, yeah, I think it was a great roster. You have the Aetolians will often, declare war on you, but because it's across a strait, it really doesn't matter. So you can just go down into the Peloponnese and fight the Elians, which you can take out in the first turn if you go to Olympia straight away, because that's where their army is situated on the first turn, and it has no walls, so you can take them out in 1 turn, and then take the second one, go back for retraining, and then it's your pick what you want to do. Take Messene, take Sparta, go to Crete if you want, or maybe go towards Attica and Euboea. So, yeah, I think Achaeans are a fantastic faction, and they have an amazing roster that will do you well all the way through the game, not just at the start of the game.
4 and Theraphoroi are really good, as well as, like, the Achaean Zystophoroi, the Achaean Hoplites. They got a lot of good shit.
Yeah. Exactly. Did they get phalangites or not? I think they do.
With a reform, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, a lot of the sort of Greek central powers don't really get any, do they? So I think Achaeans. I mean, I'm happy to put them in S. I'm more than happy to put them in S. What do you think, Ahowl?
They deserve it.
Yeah, so it's basically the Elis argument, but backwards. But you have a stronger argument because you get 4 cities instead of 2. Elis is unwalled, so you could take them out in 1 turn instead of 2. And then Sophis, and then I mean, you could have Sophis and Leprion, and then if Messene's still around, you could take them out. I mean, that's you got half the Peloponnese. I bet you that's a challenge video. Can you take half the Peloponnese within 5 turns? But you could probably have the full Peloponnese within 20 turns, and you're set after that. I mean, it's game over after that. I mean, Macedon would have to be that late game challenge. It'd be a slog, but I mean, it would just take time, but it'd be doable. So yeah, I think Achaeans are one of the easiest factions as far as just like taking Greece.
Definitely. And Touraj says in the chat that we need to disclose our biases and conflicts of interest.
No, this is all objective here. So I mean, if you want to see my biases, this will look a lot different.
Yeah, this is going to look a lot different for me as well, trust me. Issa is going to be S tier because of the Greek AOR, okay? Oh, very good. Right, onto the Aetolians. And also a great faction. Mosca, you have a soft spot in your heart for them, I know that.
And they're pretty cool.
Yeah, they're pretty cool.
I think Mosca the Achaeans over the Aetolians.
Really?
I like them both. I like the Aetolians more because they were trolls.
Yeah, fair, exactly. I don't think like their roster's a really strong skirmish roster, but it's probably not quite as good as the Achaeans. Their start though, the land they have is so defensible. If you take out Acarnania, then you can pretty much just choose what you want to do. Do you want to go through Delphi to the Boeotian League? Do you want to go south to the Achaeans? Like, it's basically up to you. Like, because of those mountain passes, like, you're never really going to lose those settlements. And even if you do, like, it's going to take the AI ages to work out how to path. So the only thing that I will say, though, is that those mountain passes that you start with, if you have allies, which I believe you do at the start of the game, they can just go and sit in them, and it can be very, very annoying. So make sure you have ships.
As you know from watching you play Epirus.
Yeah, exactly. Athens was just on all the bridges everywhere whenever I needed to get across a bridge, apparently. It's just like, thanks, Athens, why are you here? Just go away. But yeah, no, I think a great faction. I think probably, along with the Achaeans, the strongest Greek faction in Greece. So I would say S tier as well, but what do you guys think?
I'm down.
Is that it, Mosca? You don't have any. You don't want to.
I mean, they're really fucking good, dude. Like, they're better than Zach is trying to give them credit for. I'll say that. But yeah, he's right. They are good.
Better.
Better
I've just literally argued for them.
I know, but they're better than he's trying to. They're even better than he would have you think. Is what I'm saying.
But are they as good as? Are they better or worse than the Achaeans?
Are they better or worse than the Achaeans? See, me and Zach had a long conversation about this like a year ago.
We did actually, yeah.
where I said this is like Pontic Pentapolis, where their units are not as good as some of the other factions, but they have a much stronger economic start and base. They have like 2 times more cities than Achaea, which I think is
more.
But they have
not more. They got 6 compared to 4 now.
Well, that's still a lot more, man.
But I agree that they actually have large towns, whereas Achaea has they have 1 large town and then 3 towns, and the towns aren't even good.
So, I say they're a strong S tier with Achaea, but you know, I like them both. I don't want to be too harsh on either one. I like them both.
Guys. The Antigonids are Macedonians. They're one of the Diadochi. We've done a video on that. So yeah.
No, they're not Greek.
They're Macedonian.
To answer your question, no, they are not Greek. Next question, please.
We did one on all of the Diadochi, so you can check that one out. It's not in the description yet, but it will be. But you can check it out on the channel. It's the most recent video. And don't worry, they got a high rating, guys. They got a high rating. It's the Antigonids, right? So, Ahowl, do you agree with the Aetolians being an S then as well? Yeah.
Yeah, S and then above Achaeans because they got 3 large towns.
Yeah, I would agree objectively.
I told you, Zach.
Objectively, yeah, but I prefer the Achaeans because I think mid to late game you're going to be better because their roster's better.
Maybe.
And
Maybe,
Ludwig,
maybe.
yes, there was a video that was released today about the Diadochi / Hellenistic factions. Hellenistic and Greek are different cultures in RAS, and that's how we've distinguished the videos. So you can go check that video out.
Yeah, and I do agree that the Macedonians were Greek, but there is a lot of debate about that. So there's a lot of historical debate about how Greek were they, how Greek were the Greeks versus them. And if you actually look at the sources of these people, like every single city-state, the Greeks were very, very supremacist about themselves. So
I'll be right back.
every single city-state, like all of them, thought that they were the best city and that they were the true Greeks. So when you read like some of these primary sources, like you've got Athenians saying that the Macedonians are barbarians, and you've got Macedonians saying that the Greeks down south are not true Greeks, and you've got the Aetolians saying that the Epirotes are barbarians, and you've got people from the Peloponnese like the Achaeans and the probably not the Spartans, but the Achaeans, the Megalopolitans, the Argives, saying that the Aetolians are just hill dwellers that are barbarians. So all of these like primary sources, they all like look at each other as if everyone else is uncivilized apart from us. So you've got to remember that when we're talking about this. It's all very wishy-washy in terms of the history and in terms of how they actually saw each other. And yeah, I personally do think the Macedonians were Greek, but obviously all of these Greeks had their own subcultures. Like, for example, the Rhodians believed that Rhodes was formed by Helios pulling the island out of the sea, which is not something that someone from Sparta may necessarily believe. Or, you know, obviously Sparta and Athens, classic rivals, they had very different cultures. Very, very different cultures. You have Miletus and Priene that we've already shown today, completely opposite cultures. So all of these Greeks, although they share common traits, also have their own intricacies and their own cultures as well, or what I would say subcultures. They're all within the overarching Greek culture, but they've all got their own subcultures as well. But yeah, should we move on to Taras then?
Oh, wow. Sure.
Yes, Taras. So, interestingly enough, I've played these guys on very hard, and extreme mode, as you know, Ahowl, but these guys might not know. And it wasn't that bad so far. I've not played much, but I can see that it probably will get really bad about 10 to 15 turns in, probably 15 turns in. So, yeah, what do you think?
Well, Rome sucks right now, so that doesn't do justice to objective like ranking here. I do think that you'd probably have a hard time. You probably, if you kept going a few more turns, probably would have had a hard time. But that's tough. Ideally, Taurus should be in the D, but I feel like right now they should be in C because of that. And they would probably be demoted. They'd probably be demoted to D once the Romans are finished. Because the Romans are just terrible right now. They don't do anything, and they're not very hard to fight against. I mean, if they build up, I'm talking like the very beginning, it seems like you could probably take Rome very quickly.
I would say,
I don't know, maybe if you went to turn 12, turn 10, they would have shown up with 2 full stacks and you would have been screwed. But you took so many regions so quickly. It's like, ooh, I don't know.
Well, I think
That seems easy.
Yeah, I would still say D, just because I think, yeah, about by turn 15, the AI will have actually got its stuff together. And when I did the Toggle Fog of War, they were actually recruiting a lot of units. Like, they had about 4 units in every city. So I'm assuming that was designed to go and kill me. So I would say if you get into a battle with them, basically your campaign's over at that point, isn't it? So I think
I still think your challenge video. Like, now that you know what's going to happen, I still think you should do it just to kind of see. I mean, I think it's awesome. I think just the idea of a Tara's challenge video is great. But
well, just need to finish off.
How about D below Acarnanian?
Yeah, I was thinking that's probably around there, isn't it? Really. And then if the Romans, in future batches are a bit cleverer, shall we say, then yeah, that'll be good. So is Moscow back yet or not?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, what do you agree with our Taras pick?
That they're pseudo C tier.
We put them in D between Acarnanian and Messene.
Oh yeah, that's fine.
Cool. So on to
only because Rome is terrible.
Yeah, like if Rome was actually like diligent and competent at the minute, they would be right at the bottom.
Yes.
But yeah, Athens is the next one, and Athens, in my opinion, in 0.5 was the most difficult non-minor start. So one of the major factions. I think they were the most difficult of those starts. And I still do think that Athens is an incredibly difficult faction. Not D tier. So not D tier, not amongst the absolute masochistic factions, shall we say. But I still think they are a very difficult faction, especially for new players. Those 2 islands that you have are not good. Let's be honest, they're not great land, and I believe they have corruption at the start of the game.
Islands.
3 islands, but you do have 4 settlements, so that's pretty good. Your roster isn't gonna be amazing late game, but it's great. It's still fine early game. Your Epibarte is a good little light infantry unit. But yeah, you start with Athens though, and that is your biggest benefit because the city of Athens itself is a fantastic city to start with. You have Corinth nearby. So yeah, I think B tier, I would say, for these guys, but that might be a little bit ambitious. What do you think?
Thinking C.
I'm thinking C too.
Yeah, I'm happy with C. I do think B tier is maybe a little bit high for them.
Question is it better or worse than Acarnania?
I would say it's harder, but that doesn't mean it's worse. I would say if you manage Athens really well, you will end up in a stronger position 20 turns in than if you manage the Acarnanians really well 20 turns in.
I mean, you can really pick apart the Antagonids and the Ptolemies. I mean, they have a lot more islands. I mean, you could recreate Athenian fanboys. Athenian fanboys are about to get really excited. You could definitely get the Delian Empire because the Ptolemies have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 islands in the Aegean, not too far away from you that you can take and use all those ports for income without any opposition. Honestly, I mean, they're your ally at the beginning of the game, but
who cares about that in Total War?
Yeah, I mean, you could also pick apart the Antagonids, but they do kind of have a army overseeing you in Piraeus, so you'd have to take them out. That would be your main. That would be like your regaining your port back though. So yeah, I'd say high C tier.
Yeah, I think I agree. I think so I've watched a couple of campaigns. I've watched Rain's campaign on this, and also Tom Pie is doing a campaign on these guys at the minute. I've also done my guide video on them, and my tactic was to go after Boeotia right at the start. You are allied to them, but there is a draw-out battle, and you could take them out in about, I think it was like 3 turns. So that was pretty simple, and then we got attacked by the Antagonids, and honestly at that point they were not strong in the south. So by about 15 turns in, you can have like all of Euboea, all of Attica, and onto Corinth as well. Like I think you can be pretty strong quite quickly. It's just quite difficult to do that, if that makes sense. So yeah, I think I would put them low B, but I'm happy to go high C because both of you guys want high C.
What's Moscow's argument?
They're C tier faction, dude.
Okay.
They have an okay roster, but not an amazing roster. They have an okay economy, but not an amazing economy. They have their start is slightly better than average because their first city is really good, but their other two cities are kind of crap. But they're surrounded by enemies. I mean, they're just very mid.
Thank you, Static. Thanks for joining, and always remember Greek AOR, my friend. Greek AOR. But no, I agree with you, Moscow. That's actually a good argument because I think late game you're gonna have a horrendous time with these guys if you are using the Athenian roster because it's really not geared towards late game. You're gonna have a great time early game probably, but not amazing. But I think you're gonna struggle against Phalangites and Roman legions late game. So yeah, I think high C is good. Are we putting them above Acarnania then?
I think they probably deserve to be above Acarnania.
Okay.
Yeah. Better unit roster.
Cool. On to the Thessalian League then. Another emergent faction. And another really interesting one. This is going to be really hard to rate, actually. I've never really thought about these guys, like how difficult they would be to play. And you kind of are taking the area in which I went for as Epirus in the Epirus campaign because it's quite a nice little area to have hold of. But I still think it's going to be difficult as an emergent faction to fight back Macedon, rather than as Epirus you start with a pretty decent army, don't you? Whereas how do these guys pop out? How much army do they have?
So they pop out late as AI, but that doesn't matter because it's about the player. They will get all of Thessaly, which is Tricca, Philana. No, not Philana, because Philana is the Perhybians. But they'll get Tricca, Larissa, Pharai, and Pharsalos. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, 4 cities, all of them large towns. Thessalian cavalry is a factional unit, and your Thessalian cavalry is also your general's bodyguard. You also get Thessalian peltas, which are famous for their metal hats. And then you get, if you take Phalana, you get a better Javcav unit in the Perhybian cavalry. But yeah, I mean, if you think about it, the Thessaly campaign is basically the Epirus well, not basically the Epirus campaign because you don't get Epirus, but similar, where you get a lot of fertile land with good recruitment capability, and you have you could probably put your army together and face Pella right away, or the army in Pella right away, and then once that's taken care of, you might be able to mop up the rest of Macedon. And then to your south, you have a border to your south of rebels and GCS, so you don't really have to worry about yourself. So it's really you against Macedon. But the important one is that border city of Iginion. I would look at the Antigonids. Otherwise, you're bordering Epirus, and then they can attack you. So to avoid a two-front war. So honestly, man, I would put this at low A or high B.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
I think we've also got to remember that like the cavalry, like the Thessalian lancers, have been pretty nerfed in this patch too. So as good as they were before, they are quite a bit worse than they were before.
Oh, really?
Yeah, their defense is a lot worse. I think it's.
I mean, maybe a high C, but I don't see why they wouldn't be B.
Oh no, I'm happy to say B. I don't think A though. I don't think high B or low A though. That's the only thing. I do think it's difficult though. Like that, when you spawn out, the Macedonians are gonna have a full stack, aren't they?
Yeah, but you start okay, so check this out. When you start out as an emergent, check this out. When you get an emergent faction, you get a random army in
Yeah,
a
of
random
course.
city for most of them, right? Well, these are random armies in 4 random cities, or not 4
Yeah,
random
yeah.
cities, but 4 random armies. And then as you hit in turn, the game is going to give you generals for family members.
Yeah.
So out of all the emergent factions, this is probably one of the best emergent factions that you can play as.
Probably them and Nicaea.
4 large towns, all with
Yeah.
recruitment capability. The script gives you recruitment centers in all 4 of them.
Well, that's class.
Yeah, so I mean, it's basically you got to go straight for Pella. I mean, you take out Demetrius early, you can consolidate the 3 settlements that aren't yours around you. But I mean, it's you versus the Antigonids until the Antigonids are off the map. And then, like I said, you just got to be wary of Epirus to the west and maybe Aetolia to the south. But it's basically a race to take out Macedon. I mean, another video I'd like to see you do.
Yeah. Well, I
want to see all the factions.
every faction, man.
Yeah.
We can do an RAS A to Z. RAS A to Z. Let's go.
It's a pretty good point. Can't lie. All right. I think B is good.
Yeah, I think top of B then. You've argued well, Ahowl. We've argued well.
He's been very persuasive.
Very persuasive. Almost as persuasive as your Issa argument.
I am a sale. I'm a sale.
He destroyed you on Issa, dude. I'm sorry.
Mate, I still think Issa's good.
All on Issa.
Issa's trash.
Issa's good, man. Maybe it's just because I think it's a really interesting. It's probably because I just think it's a really interesting campaign. Bump.
And yet, when I said that about Priene, you were like, "Oh, that's not what we're ranking it on, though."
I don't know. But Priene's a bit different. Priene's literally you have to run away or you die.
Realism.
Yeah. So onto the Boeotian League then, or the whatever, however you want to say it.
The Boeotian League.
Yeah, that. These guys. The Boeotian League. I think these guys are pretty difficult. Probably easier than Athens, harder than the Aetolians and the Achaeans, definitely. But not terrible. And you do start with phalangites, right? Do you start with phalangites?
No, it's a reform.
Is it a reform unit?
Oh yeah. For Boeotians, yes.
But you got some of the best hoplites in the game. Boeotian hoplites and Boeotian Theriophoroi are better than their counterparts. And the Theriophoroi are a weird Theriophoroi. They don't throw javelins. They're just basically hoplites with larger.
Yeah.
So they're more mobile. So I mean,
and you get some Agema.
Yeah, but it's like what are the starting moves? I mean, I guess you just go straight for Athens.
Yeah, I mean, you probably go straight for Athens. What did I do in my guide? I think when Athens, Aetolia, Macedon, I think was
it didn't seem like Boeotian guide was that hard of a game. I mean,
it's pretty easy.
I mean, I know they seem like they're in a tough position. Historically, they didn't do anything, but you get 3 settlements. You get 3 settlements, and yeah, you can take out Athens. I mean, not their islands, but you can take out their main city right away. I don't know, man. I'd say this is like a solid B tier.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be tempted to even move them up to A just because of their late game roster's so good.
Is it that good?
Well, I mean, you get some pretty good. Phalangites, and you get, like you say, some pretty good flanking units with the Theriophoroi and the hoplites. But the Aetolians don't get an Agema, do they? I don't think.
Yeah, they get an Epilect. Oh, they don't get phalangites, but they have an Epilectoid.
Yeah.
Their unit is more like a Therios spearman.
Yeah.
I could see them as A tier because the Cretans are A tier.
Yeah. I mean, the Cretans are A tier because like they're pretty much it's beginner island. It's quite easy, and you've got a lot of time to do whatever you want to do, and they have cool rosters. But Boeotians is nowhere near as easy as that. But again, you can get quite strong quite quickly.
Is it easier or harder than what I just proposed for the Thessalian League. How about that?
Yeah, it's probably
Well-
probably not as. I don't know. It's probably on
I'd
par,
probably-
really.
I could
I
probably
think-
put B below Thessaly or B above Thessaly, either one.
Well, I think the thing about the Thessalian League is, like the other emergent factions, it's an emergent faction, so your start is randomized, which means it can either be really good or really bad,
Yeah.
or somewhere in the middle. Boeotian League, you're always going to start the same because they're a static faction. So I think that predictability makes them easier because you know exactly what you're going to start with once you've started with it.
Agreed. I'd say B tier above Thessaly.
Yeah,
Not
okay.
quite A tier.
And we have
They don't make the cut.
we have a special guest in the chat as well. We've got
Oh, yeah?
Kinade. You're
Our favorite Scottish commenter / fan.
favorite Scottish king.
Yeah.
But yeah,
He seems to know a lot about history in the chat, which is very helpful.
But after we've 2 hours 10 minutes in, guys. If you've been here with us for as little as 30 seconds or for as long as 2 hours 10, make sure you do like this video. It's been fun so far. We've had arguments, we've had disagreements, we've had agreements, you've had everything, and you've got a beautiful ranking in front of you. It's a bit bottom heavy, but
That's realistic.
it's going to get a bit top heavy. Well, not top heavy, a bit heavier at the top soon, I feel like. But maybe not with the next faction. Talata. We have Trapezus. Isolated, alone, with relatively, okay rebel garrisons around you. Pointless in your existence. I think solid D.
D. No, bro.
Trapezus.
C below Sinope. It's an easy start. You got no competition but rebels.
Yeah.
Seriously. I mean, it can get demoted. It can get demoted to D when like Armenia and Caucasian factions are figured out. But
They just have the generic
literally-
roster as well.
Yeah, they got generic roster, but I mean, you got an easy Greek settlement right to your. You got.
Do they have any special units?
No.
No, but one,
Wow.
2. You have 3 easy Greek settlements to your left. You probably don't want to go for the massive rebel garrisons to your south because those are just like villages and towns, which basically just serve a buffer against you in Pontus. I mean, you got that, and then you have Phasis, Gaianos, Dioscurius, and Pitios. Like those are easy Greek settlements on the coast in Colchis that you can take too. So you basically can take the entire coast without going inland, and you're going to be making a ton of money, which allows you to get a decently large army. At that point, you can either take on Pontus and take out Pontus, or you can go take out the Bosporans if you wanted to. I don't think this is a hard campaign. It's a slow campaign. It'd probably be a little boring. I don't think it's going to be hard. I think it's very similar to Emporion, but I think it's easier than Emporion. I really do. I think it's below Sinope.
I don't think you'll make it like that much money because I really like. But I think probably where you say you're up at the bottom of C.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. At least 9 Greek settlements that you can take with ease without competition from anybody else. Pontus would be the closest one to compete with you. But that's going to be a while. I mean, that's a lot of trade. They all have ports. And then out of all of them, I mean, Catiora is a town, Karassos, town.
What are the garrisons like?
I think Phasis has the biggest garrison.
Yeah.
And it's not that big. It's like low tier, like it's like below average. But like Karassos right next to you, that's an easy take. You could skip Catiora and take side Pontos. That's an easy take. And then retrain, come back, take Catiora, retrain, go back, take Phasis. Same army, you could probably take Gaianos, go back, retrain, take Dioscurius, go back, retrain, Pitius, and then you could like expand. I mean, yeah, the reasoning is there's no actual faction that's going to be on you for a very long time. Armenia has a lot of rebels to go through. Pontus has a lot of rebels to go through. Bosporans and the Saraces have a lot of rebels to go through. To me, this would be a very good beginner campaign.
Yeah.
A very good beginner campaign of how to learn without being pressured from other factions.
Okay. Yeah, I'll accept that. I think bottom of sea makes sense for those guys. Talata. But on to Massalia then. Now, yeah, this is going to be a really hard one to grade, I feel like, because like it's very similar to Emporion, really, isn't it? Let's be honest. You just start with a few more cities.
Half our team hates this faction, so I mean,
for good reason.
We're not being biased here. We're being objective. Let's look.
Yeah, they objectively suck.
I mean, when I did the guide for them, I went for Emporion first, took out Emporion, then went for there's a minor city nearby, and then there's
Malso, Narvo.
Yeah, and is it 2 minor cities?
Yeah, dude, this is an easy campaign.
Yeah,
honestly.
And then loads of mines. So the only thing is though, it is easy at the start, but like later on, like what do you have to fight against the Celts? I suppose you'll get Celtic AOR by that point, won't you? So
yeah, Klaus, dude, Klaus is telling you, or Klaus Veltins, he's on it. You get the Celtic AR, and you get the Saluvian Swordsmen, which are pretty good. You get the Massalio Sorakatai. You get a Massalio Foot General. Yeah, you don't really have cavalry, but like you could get AOR Celtic cavalry. I'm telling you, until the Celts are done, Massalia is a pretty easy game. Yeah. But when the Celts are done, especially when the Ligurians, because there's a special faction that's going to be right on top of it, way harder. Like, this is going to be the biggest demotion of our rankings when that time comes. But for right now, they can enjoy their time in the sun. I would say like bottom A tier or top B tier, one of those two.
Yeah.
The face I made when you said A tier, man, I got a little emotional.
Yeah,
but he does have a good point.
Yeah.
I can't front. He does have a good point. I'm plotting on their demise, man. I'm their biggest hater. You have no idea. But
we can't judge him by the AOR though, guys.
Oh yeah, he's right. They can't. But I mean, you kind of can. You kind of can.
Fuck's sake.
I'll say B tier. I feel like I'm being very generous by saying B tier.
Yeah, I mean, I just feel like I'm pretty biased because I don't think they're that interesting as a campaign. So
no, they're not.
They're easy. They're B tier.
Yeah, I mean, and then again, late game, you're still even though after you get the Celtic AOR, you're still probably going to be at a disadvantage fighting Romans. And if you touch the Romans, this is what I found in my practice run for the guide. As soon as because I went east first in that one just to see what it's like. As soon as I touched the Romans, I had 3 full stacks besieging me of Roman soldiers. So
that's the weird thing about Rome. If you're playing against Rome in this current version, Rome starts off very like dumb and like inept, but it's like all of a sudden it's like mid game they wake up and they just pour out stacks.
Yeah,
like
and they seem to like going north as well.
Yes, Romans. Oh God, don't even get me started on that monologue. Yeah, every single Roman faction and every single mod has ever just desired to go north, beeline north, no care in the world for anything south, east, or west. One of my pet peeves.
Yeah, I think B is right because, like you say, you get a pretty nice relaxed start, but as soon as if the Romans do attack, like Touraj is saying, like you are pretty screwed because what like units do you have to fight the Romans apart from Celtic AOR potentially that you've got? So, yeah, I think solid B. You can still avoid the Romans by just not bordering them, which is quite difficult to do when they start knocking on the door, but it's, of course, up to RNGesus what happens to you. So yeah. On to Rhodes, and I love Rhodes, but I think Rhodes is pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
They are good.
I think Rhodes is pretty good.
I would say low A, high B for Rhodes.
Can we do
Not
Sparta
that big.
last?
Sparta last.
Put Sparta last, please.
Why is it
But
going at the bottom of D?
comes later in the alphabet, dude.
We're gonna end it on a bang. Rhodes. So Rhodes, what'd you say Moscow is Rhodes?
What did I say? I don't even remember.
You said they're good. You said high B, low A, which I think,
or maybe even S, dude. Dude, they might even be S tier just because of the fucking
the slingers,
not the slingers and the trade, the Colossus.
Yeah,
and the hoplites, and the fact that you can get.
Oh yeah, the hoplites are good,
and you can get carrions pretty easily.
Yeah, they're probably S tier to be honest with you, man.
I'm not sure about S though. Like,
are they A tier?
I would say like top of A. Yeah,
they're better than. They're definitely better than the Pentapolis, I think.
Yeah, I just don't. I think, like, when we compare these factions, so we've got Rhodes, Achaeans, and Aetolians, and I think Achaeans and Aetolians are going to do a lot better the further you get into the campaign compared to Rhodes. But overall, I think Rhodes is a really fantastic faction. Like, great slingers, armor-piercing slingers. Like, what more do you need? Like, absolutely fantastic. Really solid hoplites. So, yeah, I think really good. I could actually, yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of forcing myself into the argument of putting them low S.
I mean, dude, they have a lot of stuff going for them, man.
Yeah, they do.
You and Ray were able to take out the Ptolemies with Rhodes.
Yeah, but yeah, we nearly died a few times though.
You did not nearly die because the AI in this game sucks. You were fine the whole time. Dude, I was plotting on you guys' downfall, and the AI just kept bungling it, and I was so mad. I was like, "Come on, AI, do
it's
something."
It's the fort walls, bro. It's the fort walls. Like they really don't understand forts.
Crazy exploit.
It's really funny.
Yeah,
it's really frustrating, but really funny at the same time.
Yeah, Rhodes, fantastic faction. Let's just say it how it is. Fucking fantastic. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yes. Syracuse, also in my opinion, fantastic faction.
Yeah. S tier. Yeah.
Yeah.
S.
Where though?
Right,
where in S?
Moving on. No, I'm joking. Okay, so like seriously about Syracuse, this is why they're S for those listening. I mean, they got Syracuse, which is one of the best cities in the campaign. They also have one of the largest starting cities. As they have almost a full stack, so that gives them a lot of power. They have I think all their towns are large towns.
Yeah, they are.
Yeah, all their towns are large towns. Sicily is extremely fertile. Apergas is not a hard faction to take out. You got 3 rebel settlements. Even when the Mamertines are added with the Romans, that's not going to be a hard faction to take out. And then Carthage has got its full stack here, but once you defeat that Carthaginian full stack, Sicily is yours. And then from there, like I said, like the Romans will probably be difficult by that point. But Carthage is not known for being that difficult until we work on them. So this is one of the easiest campaigns, I think, in the game, at least before Romans churn out units. I think once the Romans start churning, it becomes a little bit of a slog. But as far as like all the other Greeks, I really do think that could be the top of the S tier, in my opinion.
Damn.
Oh, I don't know.
Top of S tier.
I think
I agree. They are really good, but top of S tier is very high.
Yeah.
Top of S tier or between Aetolian and Achaean.
See, I think the fact that you have to fight the Romans makes them more difficult than the Achaeans and the Aetolians, but they are also pretty good.
They have the best Greek cavalry in the game. They got Syracusan cavalry, Syracusan Espidophoroi. Yeah,
I think
they
though
got serious.
no hoplites does hamper them against. Sorry, no phalangites does hamper them against Rome.
No, they don't. But they got
You don't need
Thoroctites.
phalangites to fight Rome, dude.
Yeah,
got
you
the
do.
Thoroctites.
Phalangites lose to Romans, dude. That's just fact.
In real
They have
life, not in game.
In the game too.
No.
They have Thoroctites as their offensive unit. They have Peloponnesian unit hoplites as their defensive unit.
Yeah, Peloponnesian hoplites are unreal.
Yeah. I mean, Peloponnesian hoplites as your wall, Thoroctitai as your flank, and Syracusan cavalry coming in for the anvil.
You've convinced me. Top of S. Let's go.
All right, Syracuse, top of S.
I mean, I
I kept saying that Akragas is pretty good because once you take over Sicily, you're fine. But yeah, Syracuse can actually do it in like a couple of turns, like without breaking a sweat. So yeah, he's right. Like they are pretty fucking good, man.
And also, like Akragas doesn't get access to all of the Syracusan roster, like not all the great units. So
exactly, they get Syracusan hoplites and like they do get the Thoroctitai, but they don't. I don't think they get like the Syracusan cavalry and stuff.
Yeah,
not until you have to build it up or something. I don't know. I remember.
Yeah. So on to, obviously we have the GCS, the Greek city states, the cultural generic, and we've just been putting them in B for all of our ones. Is there any specific areas you want to talk about, Ahowl, on these guys?
Yeah, I mean, I'll just go a brief rundown. These are probably the best GCS in the game, just because there's so many of them, and we worked really hard on them to ensure that they were represented properly as far as strength. You have one in you have Hemeroscopion in Iberia to represent Greek colonies there. You have Ancon. Ancon's got 2 AOR units in the Anconitan hoplites and archers. You got Pharos in Illyria, which is a tough take for Issa or anybody that wants to take it. You got lucky in your campaign, Red, because somebody else took it and you could just steal it.
Yeah.
You have
Apollonia. Did I not take it off the GCS?
No, you took it off of Issa.
Oh, okay, cool.
You got Apollonia Epiros, which was slightly considered as a faction at one point. You have the tough and rugged Athenians in Argos, which they give you that really good Athenian peltac. You have the alliance of the Arcadian cities that really everybody just ignores them because facing all 3 of them at once ain't gonna happen. You have you have the Cretan faction of Heraclea represented. We just didn't want to add another Cretan faction, though it would have been even more chaotic for a Cretan player. You have a island city-state in Thasos represented. Sestos is represented as city-state. So basically, we just decided that every area that there was a dense region of Greeks, like Tyrus, we were going to add a GCS element. Dioscurius in the Black Sea near Colchis, Karasus, Kachiora, and Amyrtos, and then Kaitoron and Sesamos, and then lastly Assos. So, I mean, we added a lot. We took a lot of time with them. Oh, and Elatea to represent Focus. So, basically, the factions that we just wanted to add, but we just knew not really worth adding as factions. That's the GCS, and I think they've done an amazing job of providing an element of strategic gameplay that otherwise wouldn't be provided. So I'm really happy with how they turned out.
Yeah. And yes, I just wanted to say for everyone watching the stream, I've been so engrossed in this conversation that I did not realize that it was dark. So I've just put the light on. But
yeah, I was going to comment. I'm like, man, it's gotten really dark in your room.
Yeah, it went dark really quickly as well. And yeah, I didn't even realize I was too engrossed in this. So sorry about that, guys. But and Saul's in here as well. Welcome, Saul. Nice to see you.
Fire, yeah.
Do check out Saul's channel. He's got some great Let's Plays on RIS as well. So do check that out. And Bert's asking, what's the difference between GCS and Hellenistic rebels? So the Hellenistic rebels will go to the sort of Hellenistic factions, so the Diadochi, those sorts of factions. So we're talking Antigonids, Seleucids, not all of the Ptolemies, because part of that will be Egyptians, but some of the Ptolemies, Bactria, I believe, as well.
Yeah,
and like
basically the Hellenistic rebels represent breakaway generals, breakaway dynasties, breakaway states that were heavily Hellenistic, and I say Hellenistic like a blend of cultures, or generally speaking, like a faction or an area that adopted Phalangite warfare, or Hittite. They had like Hittyroi, or they kind of copied the way their predecessors used. So like breakaway state for the most part that weren't entirely Greek. They were more Macedonian and native. It's just a way to represent people who tried to kind of break away, like Andragoras and stuff. Like we just, again, we can't represent every single little thing, and so we picked these cultural generics to represent as a whole a lot of the minor players in the world, because it's better than just having rebels. And so I think it's an interesting thing when you're playing as like the Seleucids. Hellenistic rebels are always looming when your settlements revolt, and just adds an element of gameplay, which is very interesting.
And I just wanted to say, yep. So Taraj is responding to Ludwig. So yeah, Ludwig, when you are bordering the AI on hard or very hard, they will still attack you no matter your relationship. They'll regularly attack you on 100 relations. So yeah, it can happen, and it definitely does with Massalia with Rome, because when the AI chooses who they want to attack, first of all, they decide if you're the player, there's a much higher chance that they will attack you, and second of all, they look at the power difference. And to Rome versus Massalia, no matter how many settlements you've taken in the area, you're still probably going to be a lot lower down on the power difference than them. That's why they'll literally bum rush you if you're bordering them, no matter whether you ally them or not. So that is the reason there. But on to Sparta then. Not going to be controversial at all, my friends. Bottom of D? Bottom of D?
Yeah, they suck.
What did we actually rank them last time, Moscow, when we did all of the factions? I think we ranked them C, right?
Yeah, I know we ended up putting Athens higher than Sparta.
Yep.
Which I stand by that. So they should at least be below Athens. And honestly, they need to be a lot lower than Athens. But I really don't remember like where they were at. But I mean, we put most of the the weaker factions or the Greek factions, I should say, in a lower tier. I do remember that.
Yeah.
So I mean, they're a D tier faction, dude. They're probably weaker than Akragas, to be honest with you. I mean, Akragas has Lystophoroi. Sparta has Spartan cavalry, which is terrible. I mean, dude, they're just not very good.
I would put them higher than D.
Of course you would.
What do you mean?
You know what I mean.
What? I'm a Sparta hater. I don't like. I'm thinking objectively. I would put. So. On my ranking, I can't remember actually where I put them, but it was pretty low. I don't think it was D, but I think objectively, right, when you look at their faction, they're probably an easier start than both Athens and the Acarnanians. And they've probably got better late game roster than both of those.
I don't know, man.
Let's talk about starting moves. You got four generals.
Yeah, I know your army is awful at the start, but if you can get over that, then you're in a pretty nice spot, really.
Your army seems awful at the start, okay? You have four generals, which are the Spartan foot generals. So there's your main line. You risk losing some of them early, do like a cavalry charge or something. But that's your main battle line. And then you have a lot of missile units, which, yes, they suck, but those missile units are handy in two ways. One, and 2, they're going to provide garrisons early on. And I think you start off with at least 1 homoioi. I don't remember. But I think putting your 4 generals together and then able to take Messene wouldn't be too hard. And then from there, you have a couple rebel settlements like Lepreon. You have Elis. I don't know, man. I don't think... I think it's very close to Athens. Historically, they had a better history than Athens. Athens was conquered pretty quickly and subjugated by Macedon and didn't have military strength for the rest of its history. Where Sparta lasted another, I think, 50 years or so.
Yeah.
So, about 70 years. Like they were gone around the turn of the century, whereas Athens was gone within like 10 years. So, I mean, they had the reforms. They get the pike units. They do get an upgrade to where they get the Spartan bodyguard, but but when they get the reforms, it's almost like a bad thing because they lose their homoioi, and that has caused
homoioi means hoplites, in case you're confused.
That has caused a lot of irate fans, but it's realism, so
realism.
I know there's sub mods out there that like allow you to keep the homoioi.
Yeah, piano sub mod.
I would put them below Athens, but above Acar.
Yeah, I'm happy with that because I would like to see them below Athens as well in their rightful place. What do you think, Mosca?
That's fine.
That's fine. Fine. Well, guys, I think that is our roster. Ludwig, what happened to Bosporan Kingdom? That's in the Hellenistic Factions one, which you can check out on the channel at the minute. The Diadochian Hellenistic Factions. But yeah, that's looking kind of good, I think, to me. The only thing that seems kind of weird to me is the Cretan factions being so high, maybe. But I understand why, because they're so easy and they have really good rosters. So
you were the one who was saying they're so good they need to be so high up, man.
No, it wasn't. I just say B originally.
Yes, you were. You were like, oh, there's the tutorial. They're really easy. They should be high up. You spent like a whole...
I said B. I said B.
You said they were so good, dude.
Then Ahowl said A, and I said, okay, we'll put them in A, and then we'll see what happens at the end. But
am I remembering wrong?
Yes.
I don't know. I think it was you.
Okay. Well, I'm sure someone will timestamp it.
Okay.
Well, if they're not A, okay. Question: if they weren't A,
no, I'm happy. I'm happy with them being A. It just seems a bit weird because they're so like weak at the start compared to some of the other factions below them. But I understand why, because they're so easy and they also have really good rosters.
Well, historically, the Cretans killed each other, and they were never able to do anything unified. In this game, you can unify, and Cretan units are better than Greek units. Cretan units were used as mercenaries in every category. This game just allows them to be more of like a unified state that you can unify, which I think for these purposes, yeah, historically, a lot of these factions were different, but we're not talking history. We're talking RAS.
Yeah.
Talking RAS.
Right. Are we gonna do our own now then?
I think you did yours. I haven't done mine, but mine won't take very long.
Yeah, I was gonna think I might just do mine on screen now because I may have changed some of my opinions.
You do yours, and when you're talking about yours, I will do mine.
Yeah, cool. Right, I need to reset this then. So, guys, you're gonna see me ranking mine live, which will actually be quite interesting. Because I have to kind of think quite hard on my feet. I don't have time to really think about these. But I'm going to put the ones that I think are absolute shit munchers in the bottom first. So we got Chios, Cyzicus, Chios, Chersonesos. Let's have a look. Histria, Olbia. These are like so basically, if you don't know, guys, how I rank the factions generally, I rank the factions based on like a lot of the time, apart from my biases, which is like factions I find cool, which you might see later, but I generally rank them on how fun they are for me personally, how fun I find them to play. So these guys, I don't find that fun to play. So this is why I'm putting them down low. I don't think I really need to explain many of these, like Chios. I'm also going to put Trapezus down here too. So yeah, and then we'll go through the rest of them. That's just to get a load of these guys out of the way. So Chios, Cyzicus, Chios, all basically trying to run away and escape. So yeah, you're going to escape. Escape there. Chersonesos, Olbia, Histria. I'm not disrespecting the Black Sea region, but there's just a lot of rebels territory around there. So for me, and you've got a lot of unfinished factions, like the Bosporans aren't done, the Getae aren't done, Tylis isn't done. So until those factions are done, for me, just not that interesting to play in that region. That's exactly the same reason why I have Trapezus down there, because again, surrounded by rebel territories, not going to be that fun for me anyway. Next up, we have Acarnania. I don't like Acarnania. Gone.
Jeez.
No, I just don't really like Acarnania that much. I think it's because in every single campaign and every single guide that I do in the region, without fail, Acarnania attacks you at the worst possible time. You're like on the second to last settlement of sieging down the Boeotians, the Aetolians, or you're fighting the Macedonians in Thessaly as Epirus. And here comes the Acarnanians with a nice little present for you, a declaration of war. Thank you, Acarnania. You could have just fucking killed yourself rather than attacking me, so I have to fucking kill you for you. Yes, that is why I do not like Acarnania. Onto Akragas. I'm going to put them up in A. I think them really interesting faction, mainly because of how difficult they are. So yeah, really interesting. Stuck between Carthage and the Syracusans. So yeah, solid A for me. I do find them very interesting. Argos, I also find very interesting. I'm going to put in A because you have to choose between who you want to attack, and it's likely going to be the Macedonians straight away as you emerge, and you could emerge with absolute crap. So, cool. I do really like Argos as a faction. Byzantium, not... as much as it is the City of World's Desire, I just don't find it that interesting. This is a hard one for me. My gut's telling me C, my head's telling me B. For me, yeah, it's... Although you get to fight the Thracians, so yeah, we'll stick it in B. But your early game's going to be fighting a few rebels and then fighting the Thracians. So yeah, relatively interesting, just not sort of in that area. Me personally, I want to play a Thracian faction, not a Greek faction. So that is pretty much why. Elis, I'm going to put in B. Also, I find probably above Byzantium. Quite an interesting start. Just the same as many of these other factions on the Peloponnese, starting with Olympia, starting without walls in Olympia, I do think is a nice little extra challenge, even though it's not that much of a challenge. But you are going to be fighting the Achaeans straight away and then coming down south. I think all of these starts on the Peloponnese for me and around the Peloponnese are really, really interesting. I do enjoy them a lot, as you may be able to tell. So, yeah. Then we've got Emporion. Now, I quite like Emporion. And it pains me to say this. I don't know why, honestly. I just think the faction icon's really cool. And I love the history that there were Greeks so far away from Greece. Surrounded by supposed barbarians. So yeah, I do really like the history of these guys. But I've got to admit, it's not a great faction. So I will put them in C. In terms of the Cretans... we go for Gortin, right in the middle. I mean, all the Cretans are kind of great, like we saw in our ranking, but that to me makes them less interesting. So because they're so easy, I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think they're as interesting. So it's between a B and a C. I'm probably going to go C for Kydonia, Gortin, and I'm going to go B for Knossos and Litos, just because their faction icons are boss as hell. Completely arbitrary, guys, I know. Completely arbitrary. But, yeah, no, I think also both of the, like, Knossos definitely is the hardest start on Crete, so that's going to be the most interesting out of those factions that, in my opinion, are not that interesting as a start. Heraclea Pontica. Now, here's an interesting start for you. Very difficult. Very, very difficult. I would say, in my opinion, it's quite difficult, but I know we said before it's not that difficult, but I just think the land around there is so crap that economy-wise is going to be difficult, and also you probably get attacked by the Galatians, but that to me makes them interesting, so I'm going to put them up here in B, and also historically they're very, very interesting. Issa, I know we've had our disagreements about them before, so they're going in S. No, Issa, I would probably put in... I don't know, I just think Issa as a faction, okay? I may have been...
This is all about you, man. You can put them in S without judgment.
No, I'm not going to put them in S. That was more of a meme, but like, as we found out before, Issa's probably not that good, and I probably was over-exaggerating them, just because I personally think that Issa is an incredibly interesting faction to play as a Greek in the area that's dominated by Illyrians, and it's slap bang in the middle of the area where you have the northern and the southern Illyrians. So it's not just like you're going to be facing just the Illyrian rosters the whole time. You're going to be facing northern and southern Illyrians. And, you know, a lot of your cities are on islands. You get ports, so you have a decent economy. I just personally think very, very interesting campaign because apart from Macedon and Epirus, like we said before, you're probably the only, like, real Greek faction in the area that's going to challenge these Illyrian factions. So I personally think that's a very interesting sort of campaign to do. Megalopolis. Now, I actually have never played these guys, and I've played a few turns of at least a lot of these factions. But just from what Ahowl's saying how hard it is, I'm going to put them in A because they sound really, really hard. And really fun because of how hard they are. And they get Chalcospides. Messene, absolutely trash. Go away, Messene. Above Acarnanians, but, you know, in D. Miletus, again, interesting because of how difficult they are. So, yeah. I'm going to put Miletus and Priene together. Miletus above it, because it's more interesting because it's harder, in my opinion. Okay, guys. Just remember, it's harder, so the start's going to be more interesting. How to survive. I do like those situations, trying to get out of them. So not in real life, mind you, in the game. We've got Priene and Miletus. Both of them, I think, are quite interesting. And historically, like we said, really interesting. Priene being the faction that fought the Galatians out on the field, and also this little bickering rivalry between Miletus and Priene, where they just hated each other because they were fundamentally opposites in the way of thinking. We got a hippie commune versus oligarchic angles and straight roads. I mean, it can't get much more interesting than that. Pontic Pentapolis, solid A for me. Very good faction. Yeah, this is to all you guys saying that I was being harsh on the Black Sea factions. Pontic Pentapolis is going at the top of A right now. Might change, but at the top of A for now. Because Pontic Pentapolis, loads of large towns, loads of money, and who doesn't love a faction with a load of money? Also, varied enemies you're going to be facing. Thracians, Dacians, Celts, steppe people and horse archers potentially too, and there's a good potential you could get horse archers as well from the AOR, which is very, very good. So yeah, I think fantastic faction, really interesting start, lots to do. Sinope, solid D tier for me. Just, again, an area that I'm not really interested in playing in until Pontus is done. When Pontus is done, I think completely different story. But until then, not really an area for me that I would find that interesting. I mean, you're going to just be slogging it out with rebels and CGs, and that's just not as interesting for me. Achaeans, straight up to the top of S. Fantastic roster. Not an amazing start, but not an awful start as well. So there is an element of difficulty in the start, which I like, plus amazing roster. Probably, in my opinion, the best Greek roster. Notwithstanding the Hellenistic and Diadochi, but yeah, best Greek roster out of these factions. And yeah, really, really cool. Loads. I think they have 3 reforms as well, which is cool. So you've got like sort of mini things to go for in the campaign to get your extra units. And I think the hard thing with them is building up cities big enough to sustain your really good units, to be able to recruit your really good units. I think that's the hardest thing for them. And that is very difficult because the land you start with starts pretty poor and pretty low population. So yeah, I think really cool. Aetolians, I just don't like skirmish rosters. Now, Aetolians are a good faction, but for me, it just doesn't interest me that much because I'm not into skirmish rosters. I don't like them. So that's it. Athens, straight up to S, sorry. Really difficult. Pretty crap roster, but really difficult. And it's Athens. What more can I say? Boeotians, solid. I would say solid B tier. Again, for me, I just like the idea of playing as Athens rather than the Boeotians. Just historically, for me, it turns me on more than it does playing as the Boeotians. So yeah.
Pause.
It's a common turn of phrase. It's a common turn of phrase. Excites me more. Okay, there we go. Playing as the Athenians than it does the Boeotians. And there we go.
It's not a common phrase in the way you're using it, man.
It is. In the UK. Maybe it's not in America. It is in the UK.
It means something else in America.
No, it means both in the UK, but you can use it casually like that as well.
I'm glad I turned you on, man.
Well, we know what you were turned on by before, and that was Kydonia, so...
I didn't say that.
Right, Massalia, probably C tier. For me, not that interesting faction and not that interesting roster. I mean, I kind of like the history and the fact that they were there along with Emporion, but again, roster's not that good. And just fighting rebels at the start doesn't really excite me that much. Rhodes, yeah, solid S tier for me. Very nice faction. Love Rhodes. And also, the thing that I love about Rhodes is it's kind of a blank slate. It's a blank slate faction. It's very unlikely someone's going to invade you. So you can kind of just pick and choose where you go from the start. If you want to, like me and Rain did, we went and took Alexandria and took the Nile Delta. Now, it was a big slog and quite difficult, but you can do that if you want to. If you want to, you could sail to Rome. If you want to, you could sail to Crete. If you want to, you could sail straight up to Pella and sack it. It's kind of a blank slate faction. I really like that about it. Plus, really good early game roster. Not going to be as good late game, but a really good early game roster. Sparta. I'm sorry, all you Sparta boos. But, yeah, no.
Oh, whoa.
No. Sparta is absolute trash.
Shit, he's fucking based.
No, I think I would put Sparta bottom of C for me. I just don't really like Sparta. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, all you Sparta boos. I mean, by this point in the history, Sparta was pretty much done for. Like, their glory days were long gone. And this era of Sparta, not so keen on. If it's 450 BC or something, it's going to be a different story, but it's not. It's 270. So, yeah, I just think Sparta's done by this point, and that's it. So, Syracuse, of course, solid S. Gonna put it second because I just love the Achaean League, but Syracuse also, it's very difficult between those factions for me, honestly. I love both of them. I think when Rome is done and Carthage is done, Syracuse will sail to the top of that list because that'll be an unbelievably fun campaign when those factions are done. But as of now, I think second place is fine. Taras is going to be up here in similar fashion to these guys because it's kind of pretty interesting and supposedly pretty difficult, even though it wasn't that difficult. And then Thessalian League, I'm just going to put somewhere in B somewhere, just because...
Once the italics are done, Taurus will be cool.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. It'll be really cool. I mean, Akragas as well, when Carthage and Rome are done, will be really, really interesting. So that is my list. You can all mock it if you want. I want to hear what Mosca has to say before I have to say anything.
I just ranked factions based on how much I like them and what I know about them. I didn't put too much thought into it, but yeah, it's there.
Cool.
Check the chat. But do you have yours up on the chat, Mosca?
I sent it in there.
Okay.
Right,
we go through Mosca's first.
Okay, we'll go through my... You guys can roast me now. I'm about to get put on blast.
You have the opportunity to roast Red before you.
Yeah. He's already done that, don't we?
Wow. Flipping out the back door there, Ed.
Yeah.
He's already done that.
You both roasted me over Issa, so yeah.
You deserved it.
I deserved it. For my love of a great faction.
Yes.
Red, we're just being good friends and helping you see the light.
But Issa is terrible.
Yes.
Well, no, it's just that we're not being objective about the situation. You were like, you had blinders on or something.
Yeah, dude. I don't know. You were tripping, dude.
You were on something, man.
On something. Right. So, I'm going to have a look at Mosca's now. I'm going to have to just sort this out on the stream, guys. So just give me 1 second. We've got Mosca's up now. Here we go. You should be able to see that now, guys. So, Mosca.
Yes.
Would you like to explain Akragas being at the bottom?
Interesting.
I was just thinking, like, they're cool, but the only thing they really have going for them is the crab icon, which is a cool icon. But besides that, they're pretty boring.
Haven't you been saying they're a great faction the whole way through the other one?
Yeah, but I mean,
yeah, you just don't like.
Real, dude.
Yeah, fair enough.
Like they're just kind of boring.
Yeah, fair. Anything else you want to say?
I love the Aetolian League because they're trolls.
Yeah.
Syracuse is cool because they have like Archimedes and cool stuff. Pretty good in the campaign. Pretty easy in the campaign. Achaeans are cool because of Polybius. Rhodes is cool because of the statue. The Thessalians are cool because of the horses they have. Pontic Pentapolis is cool because they have a lot of money. And the rest of them, I just kind of was like, I didn't think too hard about it, to be honest with you. But yeah, I stand by it.
No, yeah. I mean, there's nothing I really like outstanding to me, and it all makes sense knowing you, Mosca, as well. The only thing is, I thought you might have put Sparta lower.
I put Messene in front of Sparta, but I mean, you know,
just for the bands.
I'll give some credit where credit is due.
The only other thing is, why is Gortyn's like middle of C, but all the rest of the Cretans back of B?
I don't know. I kind of forgot what was what, dude. It's a lot of factions.
Yeah, to be fair, when I was doing it last night, I was like, I had to look up like 3 or 4 of the the things. Like, I've never seen, which one's this?
Exactly.
But yeah, no, I like it. I like the owls next to each other too.
Yeah, the cooler owl next to the less cool owl.
Yeah. So cool. Yeah. What about Argos? Just not interested.
I mean, Argos is actually based off of Howl's profile picture, so I had to make it low.
Okay, wait a second. That is totally not true. That's an actual Argos symbol from a coin.
Yeah, and it's based on your thingamabobber.
But isn't
So,
it?
you know.
It's still Romulus's like wolf mother, though, right?
Mm-hmm. That's right.
What about Taras being at the bottom? You just hate them.
I mean, they were like, of all the factions that we added, they're like Massalia and Emporion, where they're barely justified to exist as a faction. Like they barely made the cut.
Can I be honest? Taras got in before we realized that there was going to be a faction limit, and not like a faction limit. Like you could add unlimited factions, but once you get over 255 factions, the game starts getting weird. Like weird issues with like unit stats and stuff. So we just didn't want to risk it. So we decided that we would cap it at 255 until like a fix was made or something. And Taurus was added before we learned of this, as was Trapezus, as was Emporion. So there's a few factions that were added that if we were to be doing the same process today, probably wouldn't be added as factions. So they're lucky.
No, fair.
We just decided that we would keep the work that we would rather just, we've already done it, we've already worked on it, we don't want to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But we did sacrifice like a bunch of rebel factions. Like we were gonna have a Spartan rebels, a Byzantine rebels.
Yeah.
Yeah. We had gone hardcore. So those Taurus is lucky to even be there.
Yeah. Well, should we move on to yours, Ahowl?
Go for it.
And
Get ready for some weird things.
Yes, I have already seen it. And
my bias is very different.
It pains me.
Are you ready?
Actually, no. Go on. Yep. Explain
All
away. Issa and A. Come on, the boys. Let's go. That's higher than where I put it.
Yeah, well, look what's dead last.
Yeah, I knew that was coming.
Yeah, so Chios, I've been on the Chios grind for a while. I just think I think it's a cool color. If you notice, there's a trend with the colors up there.
Yeah.
Except for Elis, but Chios, it's just, I don't feel like it really deserves to be in the game. So the fact that it is in the game, it's like, hell yeah, let's go Chios. Underdog to the max.
Yeah.
Cannot wait for you to do a Chian. I want you to do a full-on Chian campaign, not just a challenge.
Just so you know, guys. Every single time I do a challenge video, I get a message from Ahowl saying, "I still think Chios would be better," or something along those lines.
Yes. Yes. I think Chios would be a really cool campaign to watch. So Trapezus, obscure. I feel bad for them. Nobody knows that they exist.
Talented.
They're just sitting in their backwoods corner, just being like there, and nobody plays as them. I don't think anybody realizes they're in the game. They are the forgotten ones, man. I feel bad, So they are. I always try to talk about them and mention them. I think you should do a Trapezus challenge where you go out and take some Bowsporans on or something. Like, just show them some love, get them YouTube. And then Argos, I have to admit, I do like the Scipii faction symbol from Vanilla. This one does look pretty similar. It's a pretty cool blue. So really the only reason I like Argos is because of the symbol. Achaeans are my favorite legit faction in the game. I just like their military. I like their history. I like they kind of rose from nothing and became the biggest state in Greece. Chersonesos, really, I like Black Sea Greeks. except for, you know, a certain Black Sea Greek faction. But I like that Crimea area, and so that plus how cool that faction symbol is why I picked it. Megalopolis, because I cannot wait to see you do your challenge campaign as them. I think
God.
so fun to watch, and because like if I like it because that could also turn into a longer campaign where you have like a pike army.
Yeah. Which
And then
I notoriously love.
yeah, and then the Greek cities, I mean, I've already went into detail. I just like all the obscure. There was a lot of other obscure Greek states that we could have added that we didn't. So I probably would have had like the Athenians at the top of my list or something. Issa, I'm with you. I like the fact that it's like a Greek nation off the coast of Illyria. I didn't even know about them until Moslos proposed them as a faction. And then as far as Emporion, just out in Iberia, kind of doing its own thing. Greeks and like the Greeks in a foreign land, I kind of like that. Thessaly, just because of how cool they're. I like the red, the vibrant red that they have, and going against the Antigonids is a cool challenge. Olbia, honestly, I wouldn't have cared about Olbia so much until after today. Like, I really like how you could probably have a pretty fun campaign as them. Messene, because of the challenge, and because they get made fun of all the time, and because they were bullied in history. Sinope, it's been one of my favorite cities in Rome Total War, because of Pontus all the way back. So the fact that it's a faction. Heraclea Pontica, I like the color. I like the symbol. Black and red is a cool combo. That's really it. Histria, I don't really care. These ones, like, as we get down to these, I don't care. Like, B and C are my don't care.
Yeah.
Well,
And
I
D
know,
is
I
like
guess,
actively dislike.
yeah, DX piano, I'm guessing is Spur. Naked Spur, I'm guessing is piano. Yes, he is the one who made all these symbols, so credit to him.
Definitely.
He did a great job. Let's see. Yeah, so B and C don't care. So D. Athens, I actually kind of like. I kind of like their starting position. I kind of like their units, blue and white. I like blue. I'm a big fan of blue. Certain colors of blue. So I liked that. So I put them at the top. I could care less about the Cretan factions. I feel like they're talked about way too
Wait,
much.
so you quite like Athens, but they're in D.
I like them for the D.
Oh,
The
okay,
reason
okay, fair enough.
For D, I like.
I thought you were like,
the
I quite like them, so I put them at the top of D.
reason they're in D is because I'm not on the same level as Athenian fanboys.
Yeah.
For Cretans, Crete annoys me. It's just annoying. I don't like it. And then Pentapolis. Here's one of the reasons why I don't like Pentapolis. I was against the faction of a Pontic Pentapolis from the very beginning. The Pontic Pentapolis was an alliance of city-states.
Yeah.
And so we have Tomis, Cnidus, Apollonia. Oh gosh, see, I don't even know how much I have paid attention to the area since we decided. Apollonia, Pontos, Mesembria, Odessos, Cnidus, and Tomis should all have their individual factions, and they should all be allied. And Apollonia Pontos would have 2 cities. I think Odessos would have 2 cities. So they would be a little bit different from each other. And they would all be like permanent allies that can't attack each other. That's the way I wanted them to be. Now, obviously, this was before we learned about the faction limit. But they kind of operated as an alliance all the time. And so Moslos kind of justified, like, hey, they should just be their own faction because they were always allies. But Istria, and this is why Istria is in the B, Istria joined this alliance and became part of the Pentapolis. Yet it's its own faction. And so I just never liked that. I never did. I wanted them all to be individual. I wanted the alliance to be a real alliance. But I get it. Within the confines of the Rome Total War engine, I wasn't a fan of it. But on top of it, that is the nastiest yellow color ever. I'm not a fan of yellow. So it's just gross. And I'm just like, nah, not about it. They don't have any interesting units. So I'm just actively against Pentapolis. And then Syracuse, Aetolians just don't care. They're just annoying. It's just like everybody talks about them all the time. Like, could care less. Again, and then with Aetolia, yellow. And in Sparta, yeah, it's just like as annoying as the Athenian fanboys get, Spartan fanboys are worse. And so it's just like, guys, where's the 300 Leonidas looking Sparta unit? It's like, oh my god. Or where's the Corinthian helmets for the Spartans? That kind of stuff. It's just like, I wish they weren't a faction sometimes. And then Acarnanian last, honestly, man, I was like, I did not care for that challenge video. I felt like the hype for that. I was just like, man, it's Acarnanian. Who cares? Like, they don't deserve.
Yeah, but that's how everyone else feels when I play like Trapezus or something.
How does Acarnanian get a spotlight, but not Chios or
Exactly.
Trapezus?
Because everyone else feels the same way about Chios and Trapezus as you feel about Acarnanian.
I don't care. It'd be good. It'd be way better. It'd be way better. So that's my list. It's very, very very biased, very emotionally driven. But
same with mine. Same with everyone's though. If you're doing it personally, it's just what you like, isn't it? So
right. And this once we're finished with this, there'll be a link for everybody to participate and show what they prefer with their group.
Yep. Brilliant. And we did forget one faction though, the greatest faction of them all, the Achaeans with their Boeotian helms. Are you watching the stream?
Yes, I am. Yeah, man. The Achaeans, they were in Scandinavia.
The Scandinavian Greek colony, yeah.
Yeah, they were the Scandinavian Greek. They had a colony in modern day Sweden, and they were known for their amazing furniture building.
Yeah, and their Boeotian helms.
Yes, they imported their helm from Boeotia.
Yeah.
No, not Boeotian helms, Bactrian.
Oh shit! Yeah, Bactrian.
No, it's Boeotian, not Bactrian.
Okay, whatever.
Oh yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh well.
The Bactrians wore Boeotian helmets.
Yeah. Mosca, do you have anything to say about this rating?
Play RIS because it's a really cool mod and it's better than any other Total War experience you can get.
Cool. Well, I was talking about Ahowl's rating, but okay.
Yeah, that's cool too.
The only thing I'm surprised by is you having the Achaean so high. It's very similar to how I was surprised with you had like one big faction high in the Hellenistic ones. I don't want to spoil it for anyone who's not watched it, but I was quite surprised by that as well because I know you like the small, like insignificant, like sort of obscure insignificant and obscure factions. Which the Achaeans are quite a big one, aren't they? So is that just because you like the
I bet I know why. I bet I know why.
Go on then.
Because Achaea doesn't have annoying fanboys the way Athens and Sparta does, so you don't get a bad taste for liking them.
Yeah, fair.
Exactly. Honestly, if Aetolia wasn't yellow, I'd probably like them better.
Yeah. I know. I noticed you don't like the yellow. No, I'm not gonna say. But you don't like the yellow, do you?
I don't like yellow, man. It's like, I don't know. Yellow. I mean, if it's gonna be yellow, it needs to be like a shade of, not like yellow.
Do you shout in anger every time that Coldplay song comes on? Then.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm never really a fan of that song.
Joking. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there, guys. It has gone on 3 hours 13, which is honestly better than like I was expecting. I was thinking we were going to be here for like 5 hours, man. Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, it's done, man. All of the rankings are done, folks. So if you want to know how the mod leader and the YouTuber of RIS feel about its factions, you have every single culture that we've worked on, so we'll go through.
Yeah,
we'll
exactly.
do more in the future. We'll do updates in the future because a lot of these factions, their rankings will change based on, what we do in the future.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure you do like, guys. Make sure you do subscribe if you have enjoyed this video, this special live stream. I'm hoping to do some more live streams in the future as well, so that will be cool. I just need to get my internet sorted. I'm very happy that it didn't explode today, so that's been fantastic. But massive thank you to Ahowl and, of course, Mr. Mosca for joining me today to do this ranking.
It was good to be here.
Yeah, thanks for letting me be a part of it.
Yeah, no problem. And yeah, it's been a very interesting one. So if you haven't watched the whole video, watch the whole thing, especially the part about Issa. No, don't watch that part. Don't watch that part. But yeah, fantastic, guys. I hope you have enjoyed. This has been really, really fun. And thank you for joining us. And we'll see you all again on the next video.